Gonna start streaming, gonna start streaming the second time. I didn't load up the game though, cause I'm not smart. I'm gonna load up the game so that way it's already and stuff. If I was smart, I would have done it already, oh well. I would probably pin it if I was really smart, but I'm not. Banana. Okay, I could get in trouble for that one. Here we are to finish up Watanagashi-hen. Yeah, I had popcorn. It was good. It was kettle corn, in fact. No. There we go. Yeah. Now I'm gonna talk to Oshi-san. I'm gonna give him Toad's voice like I said I was going to last time. Glad my microphone's a bit away from me at the moment. Hello! No, I'm not gonna do that. That's gonna hurt my voice. I can't do that to myself. Welcome home, my Bada-san. Hello. Looks like your parents aren't here. My, was I in a bit of a spot? You came all the way to my house? I could only thank my good fortune that my parents were absent. Since neither of them were around at this hour, they'd probably be back late. I think Dad got called out on business. I don't think he'll be back until later. I see. Well, that's convenient, I suppose. We can do this without giving your parents any strange ideas. Oshi-san pushed my back, prompting me to walk. It seemed like you wanted me to get in the car. To which point, no! Are you taking me to the police station? I wasn't the culprit, but I was the cause of everything. It would be weird if you wanted to investigate me. This kind of gave me a resigned feeling. I'm going to jail. No, I just don't want to stand around talking. We can just talk in the car, that's all. Come now, don't be shy. He opened the back door and urged me inside. If I got in, I wouldn't have a very easy time getting out. If I said no, however, then this man might really handcuff me and take me away. I couldn't refuse. I could only accept in good grace. Because he's a fucking prick. The inside of the car had cooled too much by the air conditioner, and there was a rusty smell coming from the filter, which must have been cleaned only rarely. Clean out your filter, you dick! Oh, is it too cold? I'll turn the car off. He turned off the car engine and suddenly became quiet. The voices of the Higurashi, with all their cool loneliness, snuck inside. It sounded to me like a chorus of voices, lamenting my exorbitant punishment for having harbored such foolish curiosity. For a few moments, while listening to their voices, I myself lamented. Days that had been twisted and distorted since that night. Oshi-san, as if waiting for me to voluntarily begin talking, lit a cigarette and listened to the Higurashi. Silence became deafening, and I was the only one who folded first. How's the investigation going? Investigation? Of what? There have been so many. Which one do you mean? All of them. Well, alright then. They're officially secret investigations, and we're under a media blackout, but I'll let you in on them. Then shall we start from the first incident? The freak deaths of Toмотake-san and Takano-san on the night of Watanagashi. On this one, embarrassingly enough, we haven't made any progress at all. First of all, Toмотake-san. There are indications on his body that he was assaulted by a group of people, but we have no explanation of him calling out of his own throat and dying. We suspect an overdose from a stimulant or something, but we didn't detect anything. How about Takano-san? The same. You're in the dark. Autopsies from those who were burned to death are real tough. We believe she was doused in gasoline after she was strangled. That one falls into the Gifu Prefecture Police Department. They haven't been very cooperative, even though it happened in our territory. Oh, that's not really relevant, though. So the police didn't know anything other than the fact that the victims died inexplicably. Nonetheless, the time when the incidents occurred have been generally placed after the festival ended. It's a bit uncertain in Takano-san's case, but little likely prospect is that she was murdered at about the same time as Toмотake-san, and then dumped in the mountains in Gifu. Why would they bring a dead body all the way to the mountains? They should have just brought Toмотake-san out there too. Oh my Bada-san, you're quite sharp, you know that? Of course, I do believe this is something we need to be attentive. There are a bunch of other suspicious things, but this is about all I can tell you at this point. How about the mayor? Have there been any clues? Having exhausted that topic, I changed the subject. Otherwise, he might turn the conversation on me. We investigated his movements on the day he disappeared. We didn't find anything that could provide any clues, but I'll tell you about it anyway. The mayor, Kichiro Kimiyoshi, Apparently he was suffering from severe hemorrhoids. People who've lived a long time have an unusual amount of pride, so the mayor hadn't been telling anyone that he was going to a proctologist at a certain university hospital in Shishibone. On the night of his disappearance, he had an appointment for checkup, so he went out first thing in the morning. Even I knew that big hospitals, like university hospitals, had a really long waiting time. Apparently, people had to get in line hours beforehand, even if they had an appointment. His exam ended at 1 p.m. After that, he ate a light meal in the hospital restaurant and passed the time reading a magazine. We know this because of a receipt we found in his wallet at his house. There's nothing suspicious about all about that. That day, he had planned to go to the meeting in the assembly hall in the evening. He was supposed to return home with plenty of time to spare, but while he was on the train coming back, there was an accident. It seems it delayed him a bit, and he got to his house right before the meeting was scheduled to start. His family witnessed a very hectic mayor leaving to go to the assembly hall at the shrine. What was the meeting about? He disappeared on his way back home, right? The three families and the essential members of the town were assembled there at the meeting. We think they were discussing how to deal with the serial freak death incidents that happened again this year. So then, on his way home, the old man, who had treated Shion like his own daughter, he was a dependable man who would encourage Shion whenever she felt pressured by anxiety, and yet Shion's painful voice struck me right in the heart. Huh? What's the matter? I was taken aback by how strange my own voice sounded. What was it that just surprised me? I squeezed my head in my hands and tried to drag back out what I just realized a split second ago. Remember, Keiichi Maibara, you just realized something. Something important. The night of the Watanagashi is when everything started. That night, Takano-san and Tomotake-san died. The next morning, word of the incident spread through Hinamizawa. They planned to talk about it during the evening meeting. The mayor, however, had an appointment at the hospital, and as planned, he went there without telling his family. He got a checkup at the hospital, ate something, and then there was an unexpected delay on his train ride back. When he returned, the meeting was already about to start. The mayor changed clothes, got on his bicycle, and hurried to the assembly hall to shrine as fast as he could. From what he heard about the incident on the night of the Watanagashi, until he had shown up at the assembly hall, everything he was doing that day was done in secret. During that time, nobody found out that he went to the hospital alone. He ate alone. He got on the train alone. That all meant he had absolutely no contact with anyone else. You couldn't even call them on the phone! Okay, well what does that mean, Keiichi Maibara? Why does that matter, Keiichi Maibara? Huh! Kei-chan, what should I do? What's wrong? Tell me. We're not keeping secrets from each other, right? Old man Kimiyoshi, I told him everything. Told him everything. I told old man Kimiyoshi everything. That night, I told the mayor that we snuck into the ritual storehouse. Also that someone saw us and was out to get us. Right. What then? Old man Kimiyoshi didn't get angry. He smiled and told me that if I was probably sorry about it, there was no way I'd be demoned away. He was really smiling. He told me to leave it to him. Sweat burst out of my body like bullets. They became long, long strands and slid down from my forehead to my nose and fell. So then, what does it mean? Hey, Keiichi Maibara, no more playing dumb. When did she tell him? Shion said she learned of the incident from a phone call her father had made that morning. The mayor had left the house first thing in the morning for his appointment at the hospital. He didn't tell anybody where he was going. Nobody knew about him going to the university hospital. Furthermore, his train ride back to his house was delayed by an accident. As soon as he got home, he rushed out to the assembly hall. Then the meeting at the assembly hall began, and continued until it was dark out. Then everyone left. Nobody saw him after the meeting was over. He just disappeared. Which meant... Maibara-san, are you alright? If you're too hot, I can turn the air conditioner on. Another part of me was messing with my thoughts, demanding that I not think any further than that. My head was pounding violently, and the fluids packed inside all blended together until nothing made sense. It was just about to settle, yet it had been smashed and melted in the blink of an eye, no longer able to retain its shape. Maibara-san, are you in there? Yeah. Oshi-san lit yet another cigarette. There was yet another cigarette butt placed in the ashtray. Was it displaying the passage of time? Had my thoughts been frozen over for that long? I tried to tell you everything I know. In return, feel free to tell me anything you want, Maibara-san. My mind had become a gigantic, oozing mess. My brain felt like it had been totally minced by the blades of a blender, and I couldn't think. Now, don't clam up again. If there is any misunderstandings, I like to clear them up first. I don't think you're the culprit here or anything. Oshi-san gave me his best attempt at an adult smile. I know the four of you snuck into the ritual house that night. Everyone in the village heard rumors about it by the next day. That in itself means we should take you in for trespassing, but that isn't the problem. It's what was inside. What was inside that made people snuck in there and end up as sacrifices? There wasn't anything. As soon as I said it, I regretted confirming my presence there. But I knew it didn't matter anymore. Was there really nothing in there? I mean, everyone who went in is being sacrificed one by one, you know. Even the mayor and Mika-san, who switched the lock on the door, were sacrificed. What was inside that could have caused such terrible things to happen? I was far too tired to keep quiet about this. Perhaps it was Oshi-san's goal all along, but again, it didn't matter anymore. There was just a lot of torture devices that were used a long time ago. I looked around at them with everyone. Was that really all? That was really all. There's nothing terrible in there that would make you keep silent? Like a pile of psychoactive drugs? Maybe a secret poppy workshop? Perhaps there were mountains of Soviet or Chinese handguns? There weren't any suspicious wooden boxes or containers packed in there? There was nothing as exaggerated as what Oshi-san was hoping for, but I felt like, in a way, there was plenty of terrible things hidden in there. From the perspective of someone who viewed the storehouse as sacred, whether or not I thought about some crazy things didn't matter in the slightest. The four of us broke the taboo. Punish us. That should have been what happened. We put in a request for a search warrant, thinking there might have been some secrets in the storehouse. It's been the sabotage of the century. They said it would be an insult to the religious figures and something about the right for free religion in the Constitution. Jeez. That's why I really didn't have any other recourse but to ask you, since you went in there. There really was just old, rusty, dusty torture equipment. Nothing else stood out. Then Tomotage-san and Takano-san were only killed as punishment for having broken the taboo. I didn't have an answer for the only part. I suppose I won't bother hiding it anymore. You're the only one to escape harm so far. Everyone but you has disappeared, and yet you alone are safe. What's the difference between you and them that'll protect you but bring harm to the others? That's what I want to know. There was something wrong with what Oshi-san was saying. You alone. You alone. What? Wait a second. What do you mean by you alone? I'm saying that you alone have been left alive, right? Out of the four people who tiptoed in the storehouse, the ritual implements, I mean. The only one left alive? Hold on. Shion was still... Jiro Tomotage-san and Mion Takano-san died that night, and Shion Sonozaki disappeared the next day. Only you are still safe and sound at this point. Why only you? I'm saying now what I want to know. Shion disappeared?! That's impossible! I unintentionally raised my voice, but I didn't care about that. Tomotage-san died, Takano-san died, and Shion disappeared? When did she disappear? What's this guy talking about? Oh, well now I thought you were long since aware of this. This is the first time I've heard of it! Shion disappeared when? Oh, going back a bit, she disappeared the day after Watanagashi. Going back a bit? Stop saying stuff I don't understand! Shion Sonozaki spends the night at a relative's house, depending on her mood on any given day, so no one thought much of not knowing where she was. She frequently takes days off from school, too. Her teacher had been pretty troubled by it. I didn't ask about any of that. I'm asking when Shion disappeared. I told you it was the day after Watanagashi. The fluids in my body all reversed direction. Lost my sense of balance, and everything I could see started to warp and twist out of shape. I simply couldn't endure it. Hang on. Shion had already disappeared? Then, that night, that phone call, who was that? She called me every night. She encouraged me. We vowed that we would do our best to live on and not be erased. Yes, that should have been a phone call with Shion. Should have been a phone call with Shion. She took breaks from school like it was nothing, and her family wouldn't listen when I told them, so I didn't bother calling the school in the end. So it ended up taking a while before we realized she had disappeared. I felt the stabbing pain like needles were being pushed into every pore of my body. It started on my back. It began spreading throughout the rest of me. When it finally completely covered the surface of my skin, it began to worm its way inside my stomach as well. Don't you remember? We talked at the library the day after Watanagashi. Shion-san was there then. That was the last we saw her. Nobody knows where she's been since. That can't be. That day, Oshi-san had only caught me, and Shion bounded away, lying that she needed to go to work. Didn't she call me that night? For a job at a restaurant called Angel Mart, right? She hasn't been there since that day. She's been completely absent ever since. The person at the restaurant couldn't get in touch with her. He was really worried. That can't be. It can't be. It's only circumstantial evidence, but after she left us at the library, but before she made it to work, I think it's appropriate to consider she may have disappeared during that time. Right after Shion ran away without me? It seems that you didn't know. Maybe if you had said something earlier, it would have gotten more quickly. Now you understand, right? You're the only one left. You're the only survivor of the 4 who slipped into the ritual storehouse. Couldn't be. Just couldn't be. If something else happens, it would happen to you. I need you to understand that, Maibara-san. Can't be. Can't be. Can't be. Shion had already disappeared? It couldn't be. It couldn't be. I talked to her the day before yesterday. I talked to her last night. She was going to call me again today. That was the Shion on the phone. Shion on the phone. It was from Shion. Shion has long since disappeared. Next will be you. And who was on the phone with me those past nights? Who was on the phone those past nights? Who was on the phone those past nights? It can't be! Maybe we're confusing Shion and Mion. Who knows? Not me, certainly. I lay down on the couch and stayed there dazed for a while. My mind was completely blank. I couldn't think of anything for more than a few seconds. There was a note in my house saying that Mom and Dad would be home late, and that I should have some ramen or something for dinner. I could make it whenever I got hungry, but I had no appetite, so I just stared blankly at the ceiling without eating anything. The hands of the clock were already pointing at 10. Would I get another phone call like today? Even though Shion had already disappeared? Would she still call me? Where are they calling me from, and who were they? The more I thought about it, the more I started to tremble. I just even thought about just disconnecting the phone line. If I had been thinking a little less logically, I really would have done it too. Hold on, Keiichi Maibara. Oshi-san admitted it himself, didn't he? That Shion went missing a lot? Couldn't she have just gone to her relatives that Oshi-san didn't know and had been there ever since? She and I are both being targeted by someone, so it wouldn't be strange to think that she went somewhere she usually didn't in order to hide. It must be why Oshi-san couldn't locate her, and why he labeled her a disappearance. Yeah, that had to be it. Shion hadn't disappeared at all. Then my right hand moved of its own volition and slapped me on the cheek. It's a cold sting that made me calm down a little. Don't just convince yourself of the most convenient possibility, Keiichi Maibara. I knew I didn't want to admit she had disappeared. Admitting it would mean that something terrified was definitely happening. I just needed to figure out whether Shion was the one on the phone or not. But I asked her if she was actually Shion? That seemed like an incredibly absurd thing to do. Still, don't run from this, Keiichi. If the person on the other end still believed that I thought she was Shion, then that gave me a tiny advantage. Casually, completely casually, I would listen to what she had to say, and fend her off. I would tear the skin off the monster. It would definitely be really scary for me. However, as the last survivor of the people who went into the storehouse that night, this was my duty to perform. And who would call me and pretend to be Shion? I may have only heard her voice over the phone, but her voice shouldn't be that easy to replicate. That was definitely Shion's voice. It sounded just like her. It could have only been Shion. There was someone, though, wasn't there? Someone who sounded just like Shion. Mion. Who else could have done this? At this point, seriously, after all this time, all those little things that didn't quite make sense about Mion until now overwhelmed my mind. Like being questioned about sneaking into the ritual storehouse. How she shook the lantern while spouting curses. Who else could have? Why, though? Why would Mion? I thought back to the times that Sonozaki family that I had heard from Oshi-san and Shion. Mion was always entangled in incidents and in a position that she was omnipotent. Some of that information included things that Shion had told me after she disappeared. I madly scratched at my head. Courage. Give me the courage. Just a little bit of courage to pick up the phone. I know it'll ring tonight. Be so easy to run away. That, though, would be the same as making it easy for them to erase me. I cannot run. I must stand up and face it. After all, the next sacrifice would definitely be me. I was sure Shion would use tricky words to try and trap me. Be careful. Be careful. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't want to do this. 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 At that point, it rang. The phone rang, and I didn't know where the call was coming from. Shion had disappeared. Disappeared a long time ago. Disappeared the night after Watanagashi. Yet, until now, she had been calling me like nothing happened. Now again, tonight, the person that had disappeared, their corpses simply haven't been found. I really didn't think they were alive. So if it really was Shion on the other end, then did that mean that she was calling me from another world? Of course, it couldn't be. A living being was calling me, pretending to be Shion. Shion was long gone, and yet, as though she were alive and well. The phone continued its incessant ringing. I didn't want to pick it up if I didn't have to. I just concluded, though, that not doing anything wouldn't solve anything. Then, what would I do after I answered it? Would I immediately declare she wasn't Shion and ask who she was? Would I pretend I was still fooled and try to grab her by the tail? That would probably be the safest thing to do. What I was most afraid of was that the person on the phone would do when she realized I knew she wasn't Shion. But as long as I continued to let her think I was fooled, she wouldn't do anything extreme, right? If I just make sure to be careful, then that should be the safest option. I've made up my mind. I'll answer the phone. Once I do that, I'll talk to her as if nothing happened. That wasn't all I'd do this time, though. I'd scope her out. Who was she? What was she thinking? And what was she after? Why was she doing this? Was she really the one who killed Tomotake-san and Takuno-san? What happened to the mayor? What happened to Rika-chan and Sadako? I reached out for the receiver, my arm trembling. There was too many things I wanted to know, too many things I wanted to ask. I was scared. I should start by picking up the phone. Pick it up, Keiichi. Pick it up, Keiichi! Hello? Oh, how relieved I would have been if it hadn't been a call from Shion. Ah, Kei-chan? It's me. It's Shion. My momentary convenience and above all fleeting prediction was ripped out into 1,000 pieces. Couldn't help shaking at this point. Get ready for this. Took a long time to pick up. I thought you weren't home and I was about to hang up. Sorry. I was just in the bath. Did your family not pick up for you? Could your parents be out right now, Kei-chan? I failed. I let her in on a fatal piece of information, that I was currently the only one at my house. Well, no, they're not really... Anyway, have you heard about Rika-chan and Satoko? No. Well, what happened after that? Were they found? No, they weren't found. Kei-chan, please don't lose hope. If Oshi-san hadn't let me know, then I might have allowed myself to shed a tear or two at Shion's considerate words. Instead, now that I'd come to this, I couldn't take her words at face value. This person on the other end of the receiver. The more perfect to Shion they were, the more my blood curdled in fear. Rika-chan and Sadako. They were kidnapped, weren't they? Yes. I don't think there's much doubt. Just how cruel and grave a meaning did those words hold. Their weight astonished me, and then a moment later I was overcome with numbness. It felt like I would pass out. I had asked if Rika-chan and Sadako had been kidnapped. Shion in turn had answered that there wasn't much doubt. That cruel meaning behind her words. Rika-chan and Sadako were... no, I'm sorry. About the mayor. What did you think happened after he was kidnapped? Do you think he's still alive? What happened to Rika-chan and Sadako after they were kidnapped? That's what I wanted to ask, but I frantically caught myself. What if she had given that question a terrifying response in such a way that sounded like it was nothing to do with her? I was scared of that, so I immediately brought up the mayor. That said, however, much I talked about the mayor, I think he was killed. Wait. That was quick. I think it must be really hard to kidnap someone and keep them like that, like they are. As long as they're not hostages, it'd be the most practical to kill them once you're done with them. The world started to bend so much I almost lost my balance. The scenery in my eyes whirled around and around like the hands of a clock. It tried to swallow me whole from below. I frantically put a hand on the wall to support myself. A moment later, a severe nausea welled up within me. How was she saying such things so lightly? Kill them so readily. What's a human life or two anyway. It's a horrible thing, but I think that's probably what happened. If the mayor was killed, didn't that mean the same thing happened to Rika-chan and Satoko? No, that couldn't be. They weren't some random old man. It was Rika! It was Sadako! They couldn't kill them so readily. Probably better to think that Rika-chan and Sadako ended up the same way. Ah! Those were the words I wanted to hear the least. I fought them back with a scream of my own, even though it wouldn't change anything. I still couldn't help but scream. Ah! 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 This time the tears flowed. I had been confronted with the most horrific outcome, and I had been trying to avoid considering it ever since last night, and I cried. There was no longer any doubt that it was my fault. I killed them. I killed Rika-chan and Sadako. I succumbed to the weakness of my own heart and confessed everything to Rika-chan. That's why they were killed. That meant I killed them. When Rika-chan looked at me with those innocent eyes, if only I hadn't given in. Even my voice gave out, and yet I still cried. And cried. Kei-chan, please, just try and calm down. Rika-chan and Satoko, they'd been killed. They couldn't even find their remains. I would never be allowed to even apologize to their faces. If that has to be my punishment, then now how brutal a punishment it was. I think Shion tried to comfort me, but I didn't hear any of it. What are you going to gain by doing that? They're definitely going to target you and me next. Please, I'm asking you, get a hold of yourself. Please. Please. Shion was shouting, imploring me with a voice that sounded like tears were in her eyes. However, I was coming to hate the sound of that voice more and more. The Shion killed them. I had no doubts of this person killing them. Why? Why kidnap someone and then kill them? Screw curses. Are people's lives really that cheap? Erasing them and killing them without a second thought like this? You're right. You're absolutely right. It would take a demon. It felt like crushing the receiver in my hand. How long did this person plan on acting like it was someone else's problem? There was magma in the pit of my stomach, and it felt like it was going to erupt at any moment. Hey, Shion! Please tell me, why did Mizawa start needing someone to die on the night of Watanagashi? That's what I'd like to know. The fighting over the dam project is already over and done with. Haven't enough people been cursed already? Why is it? Why? If there's a reason, then say it now! I was incoherent at this point. My emotions had broken through the dam inside me, rushing forth, and I couldn't stop them. There was no simple questions. This was an interrogation. Shion herself hadn't realized it yet. It was just too funny. It was so funny that I couldn't stop crying. I understand how you feel, Kei-chan, I really do. The dam wars ended a long time ago, yet murders and disappearances still happen every year under the guise of Oshiro-sama's curse. Why? Why is this happening? Some of them are nothing to do with this. Some of them didn't deserve to be cursed, so why? Why? That's what I'm asking you! I want to know as much as anyone! Both of our ragged breaths could be heard over the phone. Listen, Oshiro-sama's curse never existed. It's too unrealistic. Just like you said, someone in the village is using the grand name of Oshiro-sama's curse. The justification for the murders and disappearances every Watanagashi. They were cunning. They've been using the curse as a convenient tool and made a system where they could get rid of 2 enemies in the village every year. And this year, that system killed Takano-san and Toмотake-san. Then why isn't that enough? Why did the mayor and Mika-chan and Satoko have to get killed too? I don't give a shit about the past. The only thing I care about is why Rika-chan and Satoko needed to be killed. Why is that? I didn't say a word to Sadako, you know. Why even her? Why? Silence fell between us. Shion didn't answer for a while. Kei-chan, please, stop being mean. Sob. Is Shion crying? I don't have any idea what's going on either. Everything changed when we went to that ritual storehouse that night. It was the same for me. As I listened to Shion's bitter whipping, I could feel my agitation subsiding. When I heard that Takano-san and Toмотake-san had been killed that night, I doubted my ears. Then I realized it instantly. I realized what sort of a position I was in now. Forced us stuck in there. Kei-chan, you and I wouldn't be so conveniently forgiven. When I thought about that, it made my chest so tight. It was so terrifying. You know that feeling, Kei-chan, don't you? There was nothing fake about her words. She even understood how I felt. That's why I confessed everything to old man Kimiyoshi. All of us entered the forbidden storehouse. It was just a little bit of fun. We knew we shouldn't have done it, but it really had just been for fun. It was only a little bit of exploration, that's all. Takano-san and Tomatake-san went in with us. Killed shortly afterward. They met such miserable ends. Since that then, I'd been living in fear of when I would be attacked. There was nobody except old man Kimiyoshi who would help me. So I asked him to save me. Old man Kimiyoshi, he wasn't mad. He smiled and said, "If you're really sorry, Shion-chan, then you'll never be given away." He really did smile at me and told me to leave it to him. Shion cried bitterly, recalling the beloved mare's death. With such a sad voice. The none who heard it would prevent twisting their hearts. Again, I did. I let my emotions take over and go off at her. Shion was in the same situation as me. She should have been the one and only comrade. Thump. My heart pounded. My other self, deep within my mind, whispered to me, "Don't forget Keiichi Maribara. Don't forget about the mare on the morning after Watanagashi. He was told of Takano-san and Tomatake-san's deaths over the phone. Committed to a meeting that evening. He went to a hospital appointment. He didn't tell his family. He only made it back just in time for the meeting. He went straight to the assembly hall. That's what Oshi-san said." "When did you let the mare know?" "Huh?" "I'm sorry, Shion. It must seem like I'm kicking you while you're down, but Shion, you told him, right? You told old man Kimiyoshi the mare." "Yes." "When did you let him know?" I'd begun getting scared, saying it out loud after hearing her sad voice. I wasn't saying it was contradictory, though. Besides, if there was a contradiction, then I wanted Shion to explain it to me. "Did you know that the mare had a severe case of hemorrhoids and had gone to the hospital for treatment?" Kate-chan, what does that have to do?" "Please answer me. If you didn't know, then just say so." There was a momentary silence, and after stammering a few times she replied, "I knew that. He had hemorrhoids. It looked like sitting down was really hard for him." "He was going to the hospital. You know which hospital, right?" "I'm sorry. I don't know that much, but... Kate-chan, what does this have to do with..." Shion didn't know what hospital the mare went to. That meant it was impossible to her to have gone all the way to the hospital to confess everything. Since she didn't know his destination, she obviously couldn't have seen him on the train either. If there were any other chances for her to contact him, it would have been after he came to Hinamizawa. The train, however, had been delayed, and he only got back right before the meeting was about to start. He didn't have time. There wouldn't have been enough time for him to listen to Shion spill the beans. I want to ask you straight, Shion. When did you tell the mare about everything? When and where? Your answer doesn't have to be precise, but please give me one." "Kei-chan, why are you asking that?" Her sob pierced into my ears. I was taken by the illusion that I was bullying her. Even so, I'll say it. If I'm wrong, then please correct me. Please prove to me that you're the real Shion. It was impossible. The day the mare disappeared. From dawn until he vanished, there was no opportunity for you to contact him. That's... The mare left first thing in the morning for his examination at the university hospital all by himself, without telling anyone. Shion, you just said you don't know what hospital he went to, so you couldn't have contacted the mill until he got back. Isn't that right? His train back was delayed by an accident, and he didn't return to his house until the meeting was about to start. So there's no way for you to have told him about the meeting started either. Heard Shion repeating her weak sobs. That sort of feminine voice automatically ripped into my heart. It was so painful for me to say it. "Shion, did you go to the meeting too? Did you attend it and tell him there? If you didn't, then there wouldn't have been any time left. After the meeting was over, the mare disappeared on his way home. Shion went to the meeting, didn't she? Did she or didn't she?" The question was so simple to answer, but she didn't give the immediate response. Actually with the meeting, You didn't even go to the part-time job you said you went to that day. I'll say it more directly. You haven't been seen since we were at the library together. Kei-chan, Shion Sonosaki disappeared the day after Watanagashi. The other man fell silent as a grave. It was so quiet, it was like the phone cord had been cut. I couldn't sense anyone there. Oshi-san says that you've been missing. Despite that, you've been calling me every night like this, haven't you? Shion's sobs were torturing me. Still, I'm pretty sure I haven't said anything wrong. Please, Shion, if something I said was wrong, please say so. Shion, I'm begging you. Shion, there's no way you could have seen the mayor, but if you did see him, if Shion ever did get the chance to meet with the mayor that day, that meant. Then you saw him after the meeting. In other words, it could have only been right before he disappeared, or else afterward. Beep, beep, went the dial tone. I stood there dazed for a while until I realized she had hung up on me. Tough call. No! From the scrapbook number 11. Okay, the problem with twins. It's not limited to just Hinamizawa, but in Onigafuchi village especially, the three families detested giving birth to twins as successors. The long-term dictatorship built on the precarious balance of the three families must have feared collapsing under the weight of internal strife from things like family quarrels. According to literature, if twins were born, then they had to be culled. With that, the very fact that both Tsunozaki family successors, Mion Tsunozaki and her twins, Shion, are alive is in itself is deeply interesting. Perhaps the current leader, Ryu, is sympathetic. Of course, the twins were not cared for equally, and as their heir, Mion received special treatment. From what I've heard, despite the two of them looking exactly the same on the outside, the talent lies solely with Mion. My own observations of the two don't seem to leave me with that impression. Tradition indicates that the leader of the Sonozaki family is said to inherit a demon, and they tattoo a magnificent one onto his or her back. In accordance with the tradition, it's extremely highly possible that Mion has such a tattoo on her back. From what I've heard, this is apparently a magnificent demon tattooed on Onryo's back as well. Then I wonder what sort of tattoo belongs to the heir, Mion. I really want to see her back. Gross! Takano, shut the fuck up! Gross, you're dead! At the Shuzu Mahjong Parlor. I want to learn how to play Mahjong, but I don't frickin' know what to do. Reserved for the day. Shuzu Mahjong Parlor. Clatter clink. Hey, Kuro-chan, you're the last one here. All the youngsters are here already. Excuse me, miss. Oshi-san handed over a convenience store bag with a carton of cigarettes in it, and to the old lady that owned the Mahjong Parlor. She shrewdly made herself scarce. She was used to this by now. Oshi-san! Good work today! What? Were you earnestly waiting for me? We could have done 3-player. Everyone sitting at the Mahjong table in the small parlor were Oshi's subordinates, but there were no titles laid out anywhere. Everyone, I'd like to thank you for your days of investigation without sleep. Thank you! Energetic responses filled the parlor. Already it had lost the atmosphere of a place of entertainment. The situation's not looking good. The chief appears to be backed down due to Congressman Sonozaki's threats. In the current days, he'll hand off Takano's murder to the Gifu police and give the missing persons case to the disappearances of the mayor and the others to the community division. This damn upstart chief. The veterans in the room cursed him. All of our requests for warrants were turned down as well. I've even been told our sector chief not to go anywhere near the Sonozaki house. We're currently in a bind, that we are. Incidentally, it looks like I'm going to be getting close to the training at the Metropolitan Police Department starting next week. After that, I've even been told to take a paid vacation in Nizu. Well, I suppose that ain't bad. He heard a few dry laughs. It wasn't anything to laugh about, but that's all they could do. This always happens, but incidents look a lot like locking your keys in the car. The keys you need to unlock the door are always locked inside. For cars, you call JAF, and they'll pry the door open. For instance, Kuma-chan, throw the map. Kumatani flipped over the whiteboard. On the back was a map of the Sonozaki presidents, sprayed with magnets. Now, I've been doing this job for a long time. Got a lot of faith in my gut, and this could be the one time it was wrong, no? Anyone worried about the retirement money has until the count of 10 to get out of here. Oshi-san began to count to 10, and everyone counted along with him. It was their famous 10-count resolution. 9, 10. Ah, no one's leaving. None of you love your families too much, is that it? Everyone laughed uproariously, cheering things up. I want everyone to go over their materials. Memorize locations and blind spots of all the security cameras. Kuma-chan, you'll stand by the command card. If something happens, you'll switch with me and take over. Komayama-kun will head up an infiltration team A. Aksushi-kun will lead team B. Observation teams will be set at points 1 through 8. Vonchi-kun, you're responsible for keeping a strict timetable. Control your rotations so HQ doesn't get wise. Now the team on standby has the most important job, alright? The section chief asks where I am. Play dumb. I'll handle escorting our guest. I'll probably take him to the venue, so wait patiently, everyone. Wonder if he'll cave. Keiichi Marubada, that is. From what I've seen, we are set for tomorrow and the day after in that regard. It'll be easy. Oh man, Oshi's got a plan. Detective Watanagashi! I have seen all the tips. Hooray! Wiggles. Keiichi. Just leave him alone. His friends went missing. Must be really hard for him. Normally my dad never shows me any consideration, but this time he did. Shouldn't Keiichi stay home from school for a while, too? I think it'd be safer not to go out until the police do something about this. Maybe, compared to what could have happened. Taking a few days off wouldn't be a bad idea. Anyway, how is it logical not to close school during such a dangerous situation? What do those teenagers think our children are? Mom and Dad are getting pretty riled up, but at this point I couldn't care less. Besides, that wasn't the only thing I couldn't care less about. The breakfast table, the food in front of me, the time and date, myself, I really had no interest in anything. This feeling was like a dead fog in my mind. Felt like getting dizzy after taking strong medication. Keiichi, how are your studies going? You've gotten further than the other kids, haven't you? If you have, then you can take a few days off, alright? I didn't even feel like answering. Today was Thursday. Only 4 days had passed since the Watanagashi festival. Such a short time, and yet now things were completely different. Everything had changed. The tranquil village, bright and clear as it were on Indian summer, had undergone a total reversal. People were made to disappear every night, and we couldn't even relax when walking out in broad daylight. The village had become a world of fear. I had no right to curse this outcome. After all, the only thing responsible for everything was me. That night, I couldn't resist my honestly tiny little and incredibly stupid curiosity and broke the taboo. This isn't somewhere we should be going, is it? It's not. It's a crime to force your way into a locked building, even if you didn't steal anything. Shion, now you know you weren't having some secret wrong of you. You had enough, right? I don't want to do something like this. What if Rika-chan's dance ends and while we're messing around here? I prattled on, and as I took the lock from Tomitake-san, put it back on the door. I'll forget everything I saw here, so come on. Let's go. Takano-san was fretting, but I pushed her away. Tomitake-san grinned painfully. Shion's shoulders drooped as if to call me an idiot. Even so, I didn't care. I pushed everyone farther and farther away. Rika-chan's dance was still going on. Then at last her dance was brought to a close with a roaring applause. I too, until my hands turned red, I clapped. And I clapped. Ding dong. Isn't that Rena-chan? She's here because it's your usual meetup time, isn't it? I looked up at the clock. It was 5 minutes past my time to meet with Rena. Keiichi, shouldn't you take a few days off from school? You're right. Thanks for being so considerate. I rose from my seat. I went to the entrance to greet Rena. Good morning. We're going to school as a group starting today, so you can't be late. Ah, that's right. If we, the ones farthest away, were to be late, the younger kids on the way would have to be waiting for us. I think I'm going to take some time off from school. Okay. Rena answered shortly, nodding. I think you should do whatever's best for you, Keiichi-kun, so you don't need to feel like you're weak or anything. Oh, and here.
It's a notice they're sending around. Could you give it to your mom? I think it has a lot of important announcements in it.
I took the notice. There were a lot more pages than normal. The one on top announcing the disappearances of the mayor and Rika-chan Sadako, and that they wanted any information they could. It made my heart ache.
The police are looking as best they can, too. They'll find them for sure. Just be patient, okay?
Rena said, smiling in an attempt to give me courage. Rather than that, though, her smile looked like it was because she wanted to believe they were safe. Rena, you're not going to question me?
No?
Rena, you know, don't you, about that night, what I...
Do you mean when you snuck into the ritual storehouse?
I was speechless for a moment, and I bit my lip, made my mind, and nodded a little. So it's all out in the open. Really, I shouldn't do bad things like that.
Mii-chan was really mad.
So she was upset. I suppose she would have been.
I don't think she was angry about you sneaking in there, though, as much as you hiding it from her. Maybe, Kei-chan, maybe you should have told her yourself and apologized.
I should have told her myself and apologized. That troubled me. Just 1 week ago. I did something that I myself should have apologized to Mion for. I hurt her badly. However, I hadn't realized that at all. Plus, with all that confusion which Shion's appearance had brought, I still hadn't been able to talk to Mion about it. Rena, you're right. I never realize anything until you tell me.
Kage-kun, hypothetically, if you had admitted you'd done something wrong right away and apologized to Mii-chan, I wonder if Rika-chan and Sadako-chan wouldn't have had disappeared.
I couldn't answer right away. I couldn't admit to that. Isn't Rena telling me right now, though, that I should have admitted to my crime sooner? If I had done that and apologized, would things not have gone to such a horrible direction? Rena's eyes were filled with kindness, but they weren't naive to start to forgive me from keeping silent, and they stared fixedly into my own. Yeah, you're right. If I had admitted to my crime sooner, then Rika-chan Satoko wouldn't have had to die or disappear. Smack! The palm of Rena's hand slapped me in the cheek. I stood there unmoving, my head still tilted in the direction I had been hit. It didn't hurt at all.
I don't think that anyone has scolded you, Kage-kun, so I'll scold you in their place, okay?
I pressed a hand to my cheek, now warm with embarrassment, and quietly stared down at Rena's feet.
Going somewhere you're not allowed to is a very bad thing to do. Do you understand that?
Uh-huh.
Answer me with a yes, Kage-kun.
Yes.
Also, what's even worse is you didn't admit to having done something so bad. You should never do anything bad in the first place, but not admitting to it or apologizing for it is much, much worse.
Yes, I was wrong. For a few moments, Rena stared at me, silently and intentionally, as if gauging my remorse. Then, finally, the tension in her face softened, and I moved the dialogue on shit! Finally, the tension in her face softened, and she smiled. There we go.
Okay then, it's about time. I should be going.
Alright.
Be sure to give the notice to your mom, okay? Also warn her not to go out past it. Not to pass it on after it gets dark.
I bent down to pick up the notice, which I dropped when she slapped me. Then I really should take up Kung Fu. The pages come out crisp when we're now making a mess on the floor. I gathered them up one by one. My hand stopped on a single, more lighthearted page with a peaceful sentence dancing on it. We still have plenty of homemade soy sauce in stock. Feel free to come to the Sonozaki house if you want some. What is this? I picked up the page and scanned the rest of it. They were stockpiling high-quality soy sauce they had gotten from faraway relatives in the Akita prefecture. They had gotten a big shipment recently. They couldn't use it all, so they wanted anyone who wanted some of it to feel free to come over. That's what it said. As a P.S., it said it arrived in barrels, and to please bring a 2-liter bottle or other container for it. That's how it tied together.
If you need some soy sauce,
then you would go to the Sonozaki house. Rena, did you know all along?
Yeah, I knew.
Rena had already been suspicious of Mion, as soon as she noticed that big bottle of soy sauce was missing. Rika-chan had taken the bottle and gone to Mion's house, and there she was erased. Rika-chan wasn't coming back, so Sadako called Mion's house, and she knew that's where she had gone, and then Sadako got called there as well. That meeting on that day, the mayor disappeared. Didn't Oshi-san say that the 3 families participated in it? The 3 families would include the Sonozaki family. Didn't he also say that the current leader was really old, so her heir, Mion, frequently stood in for her at public appearances? While the mayor was returning from the shrine, Mion called out and stopped him. She talked to him and invited him over to their house, and then she made him disappear. It's probably even simpler to make Shion disappear. Shion was part of the Sonozaki family. They probably knew exactly what she was doing at all times. I'm sure they even knew her part-time job schedule, too. Thinking back, wasn't that Angel Mort store managed by the Sonozaki family? Setting up an ambush for her there wouldn't have been her trouble at all. I'm going to Mion. I'll go apologize. I'm going to have her put an end to everything. Mion probably won't forgive me easily, but I'll go and ask her, not to sacrifice anyone else. With that decided, there was no need for me to be lazing around here. Put on my shoes and slipped past Rena to exit the house, when she stopped me.
I'm going too.
Rena, shouldn't you go to school?
This is way more important than school.
Rena, you shouldn't come. If you get wrapped up in this too, then I think I might actually go crazy. Rena didn't move her arm, which was blocking my way.
If Keiichi-kun disappeared as well, then I think I might actually go crazy too. So I won't let you go alone.
Rena argued boldly as tears welled up in her eyes. I saw them, and I knew the strength of her resolve. All right, let's go. Thank you, Rena. Rena nodded slightly but firmly, and finally let down the arm blocking me. Let's go to Mion's house. I'll apologize for the crimes I've committed. Then we'll put an end to these twisted days. After that, I'll pray that once more we can return to those fun, lively days. With Rena following me, I left the house. In front of the house, there was a car waiting. It was Oshi-san. Hey, good morning, my Bada-san. To you too, Ryugu-san. Together so early in the morning? You make me jealous. What a truly praiseworthy man he was, if he had been lying in wait so early in the morning just to pressure me into talking. On this morning, though, maybe it was actually a good opportunity.
You're from the police.
Oh, have I not introduced myself to you, Ryugu-san? Please excuse my rudeness. My name is Oshi. I'm from the Okiyamiya Police Department. Pleased to meet you.
Are we telling Oshi-san?
Are we telling Oshi-san?
Yeah. I think my palm is enough punishment for your crime, Keiichi-kun, but we should leave Michan to these people.
Pain and sadness. I looked down as those emotions built up in my heart. We have something to tell you, Oshi-san. Well now, what about? Should we stand here and talk? Or go inside the car? In the car, please. I only continued to look down weakly. All I could do was be thankful for how dependable Rena was. At Rena's urging, I revealed everything to Oshi-san. The latter, which, making sure to throw in murmurs that he was paying attention every now and then, took notes. He continued that way for a while. How do you feel? Don't you feel a lot better now that you've told me? Oshi-san asked this while scratching his head with his ballpoint pen. Of course I don't feel better. The price that had been paid up until now for me not owning up to my crimes had been so immense. But as long as that payment wasn't returned, the load on my chest would never be removed. His radio started to emit static. This is Kumatani. Oshi-san, over. Yes, hello. This is Oshi. We got news a few minutes ago that she's been absent from school. No movement at the Sonozaki house. Our target is still on the premise. Yes, good. Keep a close watch out. Roger that. Cars 3 and 7 just arrived from support, and we've returned to base. Also, I think the division chief is looking for you, Oshi-san. He keeps annoying me, too, even though I keep telling him that I'm trying to get in touch with you. What should I do? If you're hard-pressed for an answer, tell him that you are actually under orders not to wake me from my morning nap. Got it. The radio went silent. Sorry about that. It was about work. He just said there was no movement at the Sonozaki house, didn't he? Oh my, did it sound like that to you? This won't do. Please keep that a secret, alright? I don't have permission from the division chief to be making private inquiries like this. Oshi-san had suspected Mion for a long time. Nor for questioning witnesses, or for searching houses. We don't have permission for anything, really. The Sonozaki house's defenses said to protect the family members are also in full working condition. Without a warrant, we can't do anything about anything. Unless the crime happens right in front of us.
Oshi-san, could you be
Rena's tone of voice alone was enough to make her spite clear as she stared at Oshi-san.
You can't set foot in the Sonozaki house. Were you trying to get Keiichi-kun to go in there instead?
Rena, what do you mean?
This person, just as I thought, he plays really dirty.
Stop, you're hurting my reputation. That said, I'm all ears for your explanation, okay? Oshi-san lit a cigarette and responded to Rena, wearing an expression implying he was calm and willing to let her comment slide.
You can't get a warrant, but you always had your eyes on Michan because you thought she was suspicious.
Yes?
You plotted to incite Keiichi-kun to have him go to the Sonozaki house. Then if something were to happen to him, you would have used that as an excuse to go in. Isn't that right?
I only understood about half of what Rena was saying. I knew, however, that Oshi-san had been trying to use me.
Even if Keiichi-kun got hurt as a result. Have you no shame? Is this how the police do things?
My. It seems we have an incredible detective on our hands. Oh my. Would you be interested in taking our exam? I'd gladly write you a recommendation letter to get you into the detective division.
You're despicable.
Rena spoke quietly, her words dripping with hostility. I've been insulted in all kinds of ways in my life, but one or two words from a young girl is always the roughest for me.
Even so, I suppose I should thank you for not arresting Michan yet.
Don't mention it. Oshi-san seemed to be enjoying this exchange with Rena. And things this man thoughts were like a swamp. I could barely see past the surface. It reminded me again of how much I disliked him. Now then, as two esteemed friends of me on Sonozaki, what do you plan on doing now? Will you wait kindly for me to go over the evidence and request a warrant?
No, we won't wait for that. We'll go and make Michan surrender herself.
That's right. If she turns herself in rather than be arrested, she might get a lighter sentence. At this point, perhaps that was the only pity I could find in me to afford her. I see. I wonder if that will go that well. If you're careless, you too might face danger, you know. Oshi-san was measuring our resolve. So, in a strong voice, I declared, we're fully prepared. Oshi-san gave us an unpleasant yet seemingly satisfied grin. It was then that I realized this man was trying to use us for his own convenience.
If anything should happen to us, use that as an excuse. Though my greatest hope is that you will surround the place with that so that the criminal can't get away.
Ryugu-san, you're good at negotiating, too. I'm throwing in the towel. I surrender. What are you talking about?
If the policemen surround Michan's house, then that will be insurance for the worst-case scenario. For the worst case.
Plus, it would be another way to pressure me on into giving yourself up, wouldn't it? Oshida Kuma-chan. This is Kumatani. Go ahead. Our two friends are going to play at Sonozaki's house. Make arrangements so that we can reinforce them if it's needed. Roger. Their all-together too-short conversation implied that our questioning was already a part of their plans. Then, let's get going. Want to buy some tea biscuits on the way there? Neither Rena nor I went along with Oshi-san's stupid joke. Fuck you, Oshi-san! Oshi stopped the car at the place where we always waited for Mion. Come to think of it, I've never been to Mion's house before. I only heard that it's right down this road. This is as far as I can take you. According to our information, there's quite a few security cameras set up on the premises. Still, don't worry. I've got a bunch of youngsters ready and waiting to slip past them and go in. We'll be monitoring the inside from a one-way mic, so if you two give a loud scream, we'll know right away.
We'll persuade her for sure, so please be ready for her to turn herself in.
In both our eyes was determination. It was the only method available to us to lighten the sins of our good friend. Be plenty careful, you hear? You probably don't believe it right now, but I don't want you two being sacrificed if at all possible. You're right about that. With that rude response, we left the car. The clinging humidity and voices of cicadas greeted us. I'd never have expected this would be happening today.
Let's go, Keiichi-kun.
Rena took the lead and began to walk. Down the road I'd never been. Rena, you've been to Mion's house before, right?
Yeah, a few times. It's a really big house. You could fit a mountain in their backyard, too. You can pick mushrooms and stuff, though there are fences everywhere.
Big enough to fit a mountain. That was amazing. One of the three families controlling Hinamizawa, and the head of the family of Sonozaki clan. Perhaps there is something to be said about its magnitude. path continued onward, level and uneventful. There were metal fences along its edges, and beyond them were woods with trees growing thickly. The fences were high. The tops of them were bent inwards, sticking out like sharp spears. Plus, there was a dangerous-looking barbed wire wrapped around them. No one could look at them and not feel intimidated. In addition, there were signboards hung up here and there along the fence. Private property of the Sonozaki family, entrance forbidden. Beware the venomous snakes. Active security cameras. Intruders will be charged an entry fee of 1 million yen. This forest, or should I say mountain, is this all their yard?
It's more like their domain. As you can see, it's private property, but no one maintains it. The forest isn't really the kind you can go hiking in.
She could say that again. It really did feel like a neglected, savage woodland. It was dark and damp, and certainly not a forest that made you want to go for a nice walk. Maybe that's just what happens when a landowner has too much land. Like Oshi-san said, there were security cameras hung up all over the place, though they had been weathered by wind and rain, casting doubt as to whether they were even functional. I wonder if Mion is watching us as we come to her.
I don't think she is. The only person living in Michan's house is generally her and her grandma, after all. There's nobody watch the cameras.
What a useless security system.
Well, Michan's father seems like a pretty tough person to get along with, so when everyone's in the family is getting together, the cameras are apparently working properly.
That's right. Mion's father, he was a big shot Yakuza, wasn't he? When I smoothly danced around the answer, she explained. At last, a huge gate, as big as I had imagined, appeared. Was she living by herself with her grandmother, in a house with such a grand gateway? I wonder if she's here. Beep! The old buzzer made a dull sound. Was it cut off in the middle and not getting to the house? We waited long enough without a response for me to start thinking like that. However, we finally heard footsteps stalking through the gravel on the other side of the gate. I nervously balled up my hands, my palms now sweating into fists. There was a clank of a bolt being released, and the gate opened slightly. The person peeking out of the gap was none other than Mion.
Wow, this is unusual.
Aren't you two going to school? Mion didn't seem all that surprised at visitors arriving in the morning, which is not a normal time. In fact, she seemed almost relaxed, as if she knew we were coming beforehand.
We stayed home today.
Kei-chan is one thing, but you two, Rena? You two are such troublemakers. Mion smiled lightly, in the way that the Mion we knew always did. Well, let's not just stand here. Come on in. She gestured for us to follow her. I hesitated for a moment, looking at Rena.
Let's go.
Rena smiled cheerfully, as if she were passing through the gate of a good friend's house, and did just that. I rally myself and then go through the gate too. On the other side, it hadn't been maintained very well, but it was clear that the lot was magnificently wide. It wasn't quite what you think with Utier Mansion, but it was very clearly a vast place. Was this the first time you'd been here, Kei-chan? Yeah. This house is enormous. Steep thatched roofs aren't in fashion anymore. This place could be a tourist attraction. I want to rebuild it using totally average and boring reinforced concrete soon. Mion dryly smiled as she said that, and then closed the gate and relocked the heavy bolt. Don't worry about it. Things have been dangerous lately. Gotta do at least this much during the daytime. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it was my imagination, but I thought I saw a hint of a shadow in her smile. Well then, good sir and madam, I shall show you inside. Please, come this way! Mion bowed to us like a worker at a high-class hotel, and then pivoted on her heel and began to walk. Then I gripped my stiffened arm slightly.
Keiichi-kun, you're too tense. You came to see Michan, remember? You don't need to be that nervous.
That's right. When I get nervous, I tend to let everything show on my face. I'll stop tensing up, even if something were to happen. There were two of us. Oshi-san's subordinates were waiting outside the gate for us too. There was nothing to worry about. After thinking about it that much, I realized my nervousness was already gone and laughing at myself. What's this? Mion, what's this stone on the top of the newspaper? It's in the way. There's a pile of newspapers on the floor of the entrance. There was a large rock on top of them. I don't understand why something like that was here. Rena noticed me looking at it questioningly and giggled. Rena, do you know? What is this? Some kind of good luck charm? If you don't really know, then feel free to move it out of the way and put your shoes there.
Keiichi-kun, there's a nest of swallows right above that stone.
Huh? Oh, right. This house is for people, but swallows still come in without permission to make nests. Must be like a tradition for them. Whenever spring comes, they always make a nest here. It's kind of annoying, though.
In other words, it's a sign that not take off your shoes here, because swallow poop could end up in them.
I couldn't help but laugh at the silly contrivance. My laughter naturally spread to the other two. A really long time ago, the Samasaki family apparently cultivated silkworms. Our ancestors would get all worked up over exterminating the swallows. When you think of it like that, maybe this is our just desserts. Anyway, come on in. The inside of the house wasn't very bright at all. It was dimly lit, in fact, but mysterious. You could feel an elegance to the place. Mion seemed to want a more modern building, but the traditional houses like this aren't bad either. You're kidding, right? There's a terrible draft and the winters are freezing. Don't go making my house into a property of cultural significance and getting in the way of renovations, got it? But I want most in a house like yours, Kei-chan. I'm pretty jealous of it. Seems like it would be warm in the winter. Oh, but snowfall seems like it would be a problem. Snowfall's a problem? Does Hinamizawa get that much snow? Our latitude's south of Kanto, isn't it? Isn't this region warm?
You don't know, Keiichi-kun. Hinamizawa is an area that gets heavy snowfall. When you get a lot, everyone gets buried.
Sometimes you can't even get out of your house. Sometimes your car gets totally buried too. You can't find where it is. I wasn't aware of that. Hinamizawa was a bad place in the winter? Come to think of it, my dad. He said something like, the place got plenty of snow, so we should have fun building igloos. Still, my front door getting buried? Not being able to find your car? That's way too much snow. You remember from geography class, right? The western side of Japan gets cold winds from Asia. We're different from those softies protected by the mountains, nice and warm by the Pacific Ocean. I'm totally okay with being a softie, nice and warm. I hate the cold. We'll have to training camp to get Kei-chan used to the cold this winter then. No way, there's no way that's happening. I hate the cold, and I hate training camps too, and I hate them even more than both together. Mion laughed more uproariously than she ever had and told us that she'd bring out some tea and left the seat for a moment.
Still, there's a lot of fun things to do in the winter. I bet our club will have a blast then.
Our club continuing activities through the winter sounds totally horrible, like swimming in the cold or marching in the snow. Why don't we turn into Mount Redhorn?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of tough punishment games for the winter season. One time she made us have a Rio Carnival in the schoolyard while snow was falling.
I see the terror of our club cared not for the season. The victor would be decided who would best adapt to the winter-only events.
We do snowball fights and shaved ice eating contests and the treasure hunts in the snow.
Wait, why is everything outside? Why can't we play tabletop games in a nice warm room where it's snowing?
Whoa, Keiichi-kun, if you're saying things like that, then you're gonna lose a lot this winter. We'll have a lot of punishment games and Rena won't lose. How?
Don't give me that how. Sell things with a cross chop to the head. Ha! You sure having fun. Our walls aren't very thick, so be careful not to go flying through any, okay? The paper sliding door opened and Mion returned with a pot and complete tea set. You want some sesame seeds on your ice? Sorry, we don't have much in the way of bean paste or any other good stuff. It's okay. You didn't really come here to drink tea anyways. With those words, the smile disappeared from Rena's face. Ah, she did it. That one careless statement reminded us that we were nearly been able to forget. We had wanted to enjoy this peaceful time with a little longer, but we put an end to those with those honestly careless words. When she noticed the smile disappear from Rena's face, Mion too changed hers. It was as if the cheerful air that was like a warm spring day until a moment ago had slipped through the cracks in the paper door and altogether disappeared. There was no point in regretting it now. We did not come here today to chat and enjoy ourselves. Mion silently poured the tea. During that time, both Ren and I sat kneeling without uttering a word. Here you are. Drink up. Couldn't even mutter a word of acknowledgement on those natural words of courtesy. There's no poison in it or anything. Do you distrust me that much? That's upsetting. Mion gave a bitter smile at that and let her shoulders droop. We all remained silent. Hoping that someone would speak up first. There was, however, the one thing we didn't want to do, so we sat for a long time. At last, Mion smiled scornfully and opened her mouth to speak. Hey now, Kei-chan, Rena, you're the guest. Didn't you come here for something? If you don't speak up first, this old man won't know what to do. Ren and I exchanged glances, and we both resigned ourselves. Rena opened her mouth to speak, so I stopped her.
Kage-kun.
It's okay. I needed to come here. Let me talk first.
Okay, I understand.
What would Kage-chan have to tell me? Please, give me your daughter's hand in marriage, maybe? Can't do that. My little Rena and Kage-chan aren't meant to be for each other. Go wash your face with miso soup and try again later. Afterwards, I thought her mean remarks were Mion's own way of showing consideration. Mion had said those mean things in totally normal voice, and it drained the tension from my shoulders. Mion, first, I have something to apologize for. You do? What for? Mion pretended she didn't know what I was talking about, but I clearly gotten my point across. Well, on the night of the Watanagashi, the ritual storehouse behind the shrine, I went in there. I could see Mion's expression immediately become harder. I knew it was somewhere I wasn't supposed to go, but it was just supposed to be a little bit of exploration. We didn't mean anything by it. Even so, I still shouldn't have done it. So I apologize. I'm sorry. To display my deepest sincerity, I pressed my forehead to the table. I had meant it in my way of prostrating myself. I figured it would feel sincere enough if I raised my head right away. So I left it there on the table for a while. Mion didn't say anything. With my face down, I couldn't tell what sort of expressions Mion was making. Only the voices of the cicadas filled the room. Mixed with them, I could hear the sounds of the clock ticking. That was all. I started to struggle to breathe from having my head down for so long. Mion told me to stop. You got me there. I didn't expect you to pitch it to me straight. Got me on the ropes. I looked up to see Mion's face was calm, but she was smiling faintly. If you understand that even though it was only casual exploration for you, Kei-chan, there are a lot of people who think it's no laughing matter, then it's okay. There's an old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It's been days since then. It may be too late, but I apologize. What I did was wrong. Please forgive me. I could feel pitiful tears welling up within me. If I had done this sooner, maybe nothing terrible would have happened. It's okay. Shit! If you know what you did was bad, then that's enough, right? Mion spoke like it was someone else's problem, and I wasn't happy about it.
Mii-chan, Keiichi-kun is apologizing seriously. I think maybe you should respond seriously as well.
I am being serious, though. Do I not look serious to you, Rena?
You don't.
Then I was giving her tit for tat, and so the room's atmosphere quickly began to grow sharper. She was right. Even though I come here to speak from the heart like this, it felt like she hadn't even been taking this seriously. Obviously, Rena wasn't fond of that.
Keiichi-kun, you can get up now. Let's tell her everything. It looks like what Mii-chan wants too.
I had known it would turn out like this from the beginning. Hadn't I come here prepared for that? I mustered my willpower and bit my lip. Mion? You called Rika-chan Satoko the night before last, right? I don't remember doing so. If you have a reason to think so, could you let me hear it? It was evening, before dinner time. Rika-chan should have come here, bringing a big bottle of soy sauce, to have you share some with her. Mion was trying to keep from showing any reaction, but I didn't miss her eyelid twitching just a little bit. Why do you think that?
It's not too hard to understand.
Dropping frames again. Why am I dropping frames? Stop dropping frames! Stop it! It's them servers! It has to be! I'm dropping frames like crazy again. Is it the time of night? Is that why? Are people doing a lot of streams right now? I mean, it's a Saturday. Okay, I'm gonna continue. Hopefully I can finish this before my stream cuts out completely. Because frickin' YouTube servers are crud.
You saw it too, didn't you? Rika-chan's room?
Mion put a finger to her forehead and acted like she was thinking. There was chilled tofu, but no soy sauce. Plus the big bottle of soy sauce that had been on the sink was nowhere to be found. What? Is that why she would have come here? Mion dropped the act. You wrote it yourself on the notice, didn't you? That you'd share your soy sauce? Mion scratched her head. I heard her ever so faintly click her tongue. It It was as though we had found out she had personally given it too little change to a servant. That's all I could feel for her.
Then Mi-chan, you, Rika-chan, you hit her.
Then I hesitated for a moment. I could tell that she didn't want to use the word erased, and that she was struggling to find another word.
That was really supposed to be the end, wasn't it? For you, anyway.
What are you talking about?
You didn't foresee that Rika-chan would tell Sadako that she was going to your house, did you, Mi? Then Sadako-chan called. Might Rika be imposing on you? Yeah, probably just like that.
You sound just like her.
Mi-chan, you were in a bit of a bind then, because someone knew that Rika-chan had come here. So you decided to lure Sadako-chan here too.
Lure her out? Like how, I wonder? Mion prodded Rena on, as if trying to get to the good part of an interesting story. I, however, knew. I'd been watching Mion's change the whole time. She was restlessly twirling her fingers. She had clearly lost her calm. Of course, it was a very slight thing. I'd been watching her the whole time. Would you have known? Only I, who had been watching this whole time, would have known. Mion was panicking. Rena was saying, must have been a bullseye.
It probably went like this. Sadako, I actually made too much dinner today, so why don't you come over to eat? Rika-chan came earlier and already ate some. Something like that.
Scratch. Mion's nails dug into her knee. There's no recordings of the phone conversations or anything, so how do you know that much?
I know it because the dinner that Sadako-chan made for the two of them was plastic wrapped in their refrigerator. It hadn't been touched.
For a few moments, Mion's face was frozen at her amazement. She looked like she couldn't believe that this person in front of her was Rena. But just that to go on, how did you even guess what we said over the phone?
It's a long explanation, so I'll get to the point. The contents of that refrigerator proved a vivid account of what you said over the phone when you lured her out.
Mion's jaw remained on the floor. It was the only way I could describe her face. That's... I had no idea I had such an incredible detective right next to me the whole time. I can't believe you figured out everything, down to the phone conversation, just from what was inside the fridge. You got me there. You got me. You got me. As if a dam had burst, Mion convulsed into laughter. Her laughter, though, definitely didn't make us want to laugh as well. Mion grew tired of her dumb laughter, heaving a big sigh and scratching her head. It almost seemed like Mion had lost a detective punishment game for the club, or something, and her punishment had been decided. Oh, how fun it would have been if that were true.
An incredible detective. Mi-chan, you're the one who guessed what Oshi-san told us. He called me an incredible detective, too.
As soon as she heard Oshi-san's name, Mion's eyes began to display panic more clearly, so that anyone was able to tell. Mion, the police have suspected you for a long time now. Oshi-san's officers have put the house under observation, so that they could break in at any time. Mion attempted to feign calm, but it looked like she was having a hard time with that. Part of her couldn't believe that the police had her surrounded, and she closely examined Rena's facial expression. However, she couldn't detect a hint of falsehood. Finally, Mion seemed to accept the fact that the police were circling the house.
What's the matter? Mi-chan too.
Well, Tomotage-san and Takano-san knew as well. Mion didn't answer our rapid-fire questions. We could clearly see impatience in her eyes, but she was still feigning calm. At last, Mion, who had been sitting there lazily, readjusted her cushion, sat herself upright. At that moment, the atmosphere in the room completely changed. Mion's expression also changed. The impatience and wonderment in her expression disappeared. She became so solemn you would think that she was about to conduct a tea ceremony. I could sense it. It was now, in this moment, Mion had ceased to be Mion and changed into Mion Sonozaki, the current heir of the Sonozaki home. That solemn atmosphere about her was clearly abnormal. It was entirely different from that of the Mion I knew.
Now I could believe it. Now I could believe that she was the young leader who commanded the entire Sonozaki clan. Mion quietly placed both hands on the tatami mat, and gave a beautiful, elegant bow, as if this really were a tea ceremony, and named herself.
We meet for the first time. I am the current heir to the Sonozaki house. My name is Mion.
Mion's movements were so elegant they could cut, and we couldn't even answer her. All Ren and I could do was watch, baffled at her actions, which we could never imagine the normal her doing.
I would like to welcome you to the Sonozaki main house today. I will greet you all in place of our leader, Onryu. Seems as though you have various things you'd like to ask. If I can be of any assistance, then I would like to answer without concealing anything.
What? What did Mion just say? Mion said she would answer anything we asked. There was a strong light of resolve in her eye. It's really alright if we ask anything, then.
I shall tell you everything I know. That is why you've come here, after all.
Rena and I exchanged glances. There was a mountain of things we wanted to ask Mion. However, we hesitated for a moment on what we should ask first. The first question Rena gave was extremely abstract, but it was the question everyone wanted to know right now.
Why would you do this?
That was what I wanted to ask as well. Why would you do this? That didn't go for Ritaka and Sadako. I went for the mayor, Takano, and Toмотake-san as well. Now even further back, all the incidences that have been occurring every year. For a little while, Mion couldn't respond. Right when we realized the question was too vague, we tried to put it in more concrete terms. She finally opened her mouth to speak.
To answer the question will take some time. If that is acceptable, however, I would by all means like you to hear it.
She spoke clearly. She spoke with a clarity that a grandmother might use when telling a story from a long time ago.
Do you know that the Hinamizawa village used to be called Onikafuchi village?
Rena nodded lightly and shot me a glance asking me if I did. I returned her nod.
Hinamizawa was once called Onikafuchi village, yes.
I heard all about that the night from Takano-san in the ritual storehouse. I firmly believed that the demon blood ran through their veins and cut off all contact with the outside world. They were worshipped by those in the village at the foot of the mountains, and treated like transcendents, those capable of magic.
That's right. Our ancestors in Onikafuchi village were proud transcendents descended from the demons. Those in the villages at the foot of the mountains worshipped and honored them. Nevertheless, that all decayed with the end of the Tokugawa period. The black ships arrived, the era of the samurai ended, the era of national isolation ended, and the tradition of worshipping Onikafuchi village quickly disappeared. Those things that linger from the past were all to be detested. That was the kind of era it became. The Meiji period began, and the name of Onikafuchi village, with its long history, was forcibly changed to Hinamizawa village. I had heard the Meiji government strongly wished to erase the old customs, the abolition of feudal domains, and the establishment of prefectures. An era had begun, seeing Japan sprinting up the stairs that were beyond their means to try and reach the same level as the rest of the world. All things in the Western style were to be extolled, while all old tradition things were to be scorned. That was the sort of era it was. Our ancestors in Onikafuchi village were proud transcendents descended from the demons. Onikafuchi village disappeared in a flash. At last, Japan, provoked by the great European powers, colonized countries in Asia one by one, began to policy and increase its wealth and military power so that it could stand as a global power in its own right. Conscription began, and they won war after war first. The first Sino-Japanese War, the Russo-Japanese War, and until the Pacific War broke out. They recklessly climbed the staircase towards modernization. At the time, Onikafuchi village had already lost its impenetrability. The villagers, once worshipped as transcendents, were now on the receiving ends of inhuman treatment. The sacred Onikafuchi village had been groundlessly labeled an isolated village for those afflicted with incurable diseases, a mere shadow of its former self, stood on the precipice of an era of hardship. Thus began harsh days when we would suffer discrimination. I'm going to turn down the music. At least for the stream. There we go. Thus began harsh days that one would suffer unreasonable discrimination just because people knew one from Onikafuchi. The children in the village at the foot of the mountain were taught not to go near Hinamizawa because filthy germs were rampant there. Children who had come into contact with children from Hinamizawa would cry and wail as their parents purified the spot they were touched by rubbing salt on it. One of the adults said to the children that if you get lost in Hinamizawa, you'd be kidnapped by demons, cut into pieces, and devoured.
Never again go near the terrifying village of the man-eating demons. That's what he taught them. Another said that during a famine long ago, the people of Hinamizawa gathered up all the corpses they discarded in the dry riverbed, then cooked and ate them in order to survive groundless stories, but said in such seriousness. Baseless slander added to the baseless slander, making Onigafuchi village historically accurate, thrilling history all the more believable. Perhaps the chain of undue discrimination was the manifestation of people's anxieties towards uncertain times. Of course, the story didn't end only with the protection of the children. If anyone found out that you were from Onigafuchi, you'd be turned down for any job you applied for. People would go back in engagements and marital proposals. As for the marriages, one partner had lied about it. As soon as the truth got out, they were made to divorce. It even caused trials. They would appeal that where one came from wasn't an important enough reason to divorce. They would, however, lose their case. Lying about one's birthplace apparently constitutes a heavy act of misrepresentation in marriage.
That's terrible.
I heard about such discrimination towards those in small village and civic classes. Just because the others knew you were from a tiny hamlet, you would be subject to such sociable disadvantages that was a modern form of bullying. Though I only memorized that because it was going to be on a test one time. I recalled being suspicious about it and unable to believe that such discrimination occurred in modern Japan. Well, I suppose I can't say that they weren't asking for it. Our ancestors were proud of the demon blood flowing through them. They lived their lives boasting about it and scorning those at the foot of the mountain after all. They struck fear into the villages down there with their mystique and demanded gifts of dread and tribute. At that, Mion smiled for the first time, albeit in self-mockery. During the Pacific War, despite the slogans that all the countries were acting as one, those from Hinamizawa continued to suffer all manner of discrimination. There were too many ways to count. They would send their husbands and sons to war, and the women at home front would suffer greatly too. My grandma remembers it well. She remembers it being a difficult time. Even that bitterly long war, however, finally ended in 1945. Hinamizawa had lost many male hands, but at last their fathers and husbands and sons returned to them. Of course, there was also many who didn't come back. Nevertheless, those two in Hinamizawa who were at their limits, barely able to maintain the village without the men, their return was a very happy thing. MacArthur's JHQ set to work drastically improving mindsets, strove for the abolition of unfair discrimination. They could feel days breaking on the dismal light that was the previous era. Hinamizawa was on the verge of turning into a ghost town. Those in the village started to say that they should rebuild it once again, and got to work trying to make the village a little more plentiful. During that time, someone appeared to have built up a fortune through a vast number of dealings in the black market. That was Mion's grandfather, husband of the current family elder, Shohei Sonozaki. Shohei said that he managed food warehouses in Harbin before being dispatched to the Chinese mainland. While it was time to pull out, he conspired with his superiors and comrades and stole a great deal from the army's canned goods. He hid them somewhere in the Seto Inland Sea and sold them widely at a high price on the black market, thus earning a fortune. Shohei didn't spend that fortune of his own pleasure either. He entrusted the entire amount to his wife, the head of the Sonozaki house. Let's revive this ruined village. All who live here are our family, and this fortune is our collective property. So he proclaimed that to my grandmother, the current head of the family. That vast fortune was a huge reason why Hinamizawa was revitalized after the war. I see. I thought Hinamizawa came back to life, and that's how the Sonozaki family was established its current prosperity. Of course, there are many people who begrudged the money coming from the black market, but the villagers no longer mind it. They succeeded at one business venture after another. Those who had succeeded freely supported those who followed them. The great family of Hinamizawa, tied together with strong bonds, kept on expanding its influence. The Sonozaki family, the center of everything, would be extolled for a long time as the minds behind the Hinamizawa revitalization.
The person at the middle of it all was your Nana, Mi-chan? That's amazing! What a great success!
Mion looked at her like she was honestly happy Rena had praised her. However, around 1955, the wind started blowing in the other direction again, because of the canned flesh incident. Canned flesh. It sounded so hideous that it's just hearing it made me nauseous. Someone naming himself as my grandfather Sohei Sonozaki's superior confessed those canned goods had been human flesh. Hinamizawa, a village in which demons lived and ate humans. They were just about to wipe away that cursed stigma. The light that they had finally started to see in their peaceful lives grew hazy and disappeared. The shocking truth was revealed by his former superior. The stolen provisions from the old Japanese army had been a huge cornerstone for Hinamizawa revival. Had been canned human flesh. Why were there cans like that? Wasn't Sohei just the manager of food warehouses? His superior revealed that Sohei Sonozaki did not have the job of managing the food. In reality, Sohei's job during the war had been exterminating pestilent mice and to transport the corpses of those with infectious diseases. It had been unfair treatment, and all because of his origins. As a result, though, he had returned safely without having been sent to the front lines, or being detained. Perhaps that was the only fortunate thing to happen to him. Finally, Sohei was enlisted as an assistant at a military and medical institution. There, however, he found something even worse than the low-scorn, depressing customs of Monogonafuchi village, and the research they were carrying out. Could they have been, the bacteriological corpse in the old Japanese army or whatever?
Keiichi-kun, you heard of that? What could it be?
I was pretty sure it was Unit 731. It was a nightmare unit that devoted itself to researching terrifying biological weapons to break the deadlock in the war. They used many innocent people as fodder for horrible human experiments. They methodically observed how many days a new strain would take to kill the victims, how many days it would be when injected, how many days would it take when swallowed. They dissected many people to find that out. Sometimes they wouldn't even bother waiting until they were dead, and dissect them while they were still alive. They would strap them into centrifuges while still alive, and crush them in the decompression chambers while still alive. When a live human decompresses, all the holes in their bodies get pushed outwards, and their intestines get pushed out of their anus like a snake winding out of it. I had a feeling I saw something like that on a documentary one time. That makes me sick. I still hate Hinamizawa, huh? You said it. Mion agreed with me, giving a faint, sad smile. Wasn't much in the way of communication, but for some reason I was happy to have it right now. The unit Sohei was in did way kinder research than that. They were researching concrete methods for reducing the difficulty of delivering food on the battlefield. The military designs at the start of the war fell completely apart, and chronic food shortages broke out all over the battlefront. The food shortage led to malnutrition. As their natural resistance lowered, the soldiers fell to one disease after another. Spirit morale lowered as well, and they wouldn't be able to maintain their forces at that rate. Apparently, that's where the research started. At first, it was to find methods of delivering food to battlefields. It was very broad, and included things from violent methods like stealing from the citizens to survive methods to like how to cook unfamiliar insects and plant life. As they were working on the details, they kept staying off the course, going out of control, until finally they knocked down a door called Taboo. What do you think the easiest source of protein is on the battlefield is? Test prototypes. When the soldiers learned it was human flesh, however, the scientists couldn't make anyone eat it, so it was apparently sent to front lines. The cans were labeled meat substitutes, and so that they wouldn't accidentally eat it themselves, they stamped the bottoms with a circle. The starved soldiers on the front lines apparently loved all the prototypes they were sent. Among them, those who cooked it in soy sauce, like it was sukiyaki, loved it the most.
Come on, Michan, stop. I'm getting sick to my stomach.
Rena really was pale-faced, and she looked like she was having difficulty continuing to sit on her knees. Mion looked like she had more to say, but she sighed lightly and stopped there.
Then, those canned goods your grandpa brought back.
I don't know if it's true. Sohei denied it was human flesh until the day he died. However, those who begrudged Hinamizawa's sudden revival called him a savage for making a fortune from selling human flesh, and the villagers began to be scorned again. They returned to a time when children would be jeered at and rocks thrown at them. The stifling silence came back. What a seriously hopeless and sad story it was. They discriminated, were discriminated against, discriminated, and were discriminated against again. Why would they attract worth and rank to it? Why can't they live without looking down on people? Why can't everyone enjoy life together? I didn't know. My grandmother, the family head, once told the children of the village this. If they throw a stone at you, then 2 of you must throw stones back. The children asked her, what if they threw stones at the 2 of us? Of course, the answer was simple. they throw stones at 2 of you, then throw them back with 4. If they chase 8 of you with sticks, drive them off with 16. If they slander 30 of you, yell back with 60. Finally, the children asked, what if we were attacked by 1,000 people? Even that answer was simple. If 1,000 people attack you, then everyone in Hinamizawa will stand up against them. It was a manifesto to spur people into action. My grandmother rose up not only as the leader of the Sonozaki House, but the mother of Hinamizawa. It was halfway through 1955. It was a time when riots over the treaty with the U.S. were rampant, a time of battle and action. The people of Hinamizawa joined together and fought, treating unfair discrimination towards one as a crime against them all. It didn't matter whether the one was a child or an adult. If they heard that the child was being told off, then everyone would crowd the house as a proprietor, acting as a whole. If they heard an adult had been treated unfairly, men and women, young and old, would all band together and stand up against it. If you meddle with the people of Hinamizawa, you would be in trouble. They probably figured that if they could make others think about it, they'd win. Kei-chan, do you remember how many people came to help you when you got involved with those delinquents in town? I recalled how much of an impression it left on me. That the people of Hinamizawa boldly came to my rescue, yet the people of Okiyamiya averted their eyes so they wouldn't get involved. My grandmother fought, and my parents carried on the fight. At last, peace returned to Hinamizawa. Of course, that peace had been placed on a razor's edge. When you consider the previous 100 years of history, the tranquility now can only be called a chance interval, standing on uneven scales. Why? Could I really have an opinion on such a long and difficult history when I hadn't moved here more than a year ago? Yet I said it anyway. Why can't everyone just live in peace? What happened to the old stories of Orishiro-sama that I heard from Wakano-san? Man and demon joined hands and lived together in harmony. Didn't Orishiro-sama remain in this world to watch over that? It's a fairy tale. I mean that even if those people and the demons were real, Orishiro-sama who mediated between them wasn't. Is that why Orishiro-sama's curse happens? A cool gust of air blows in from the house, fluttering Mion's long, beautifully clean hair. Mion kept her refreshing smile without answering, and didn't even have to change her expression, but even then became a silent answer. So that Hinamizawa village might once more be like Onikafuchi village, so that we may again be sacred existence worthy of worship. That was the earnest wish of our ancestors in Onikafuchi, and the mission of those who inherit the demon in the Sonozaki main family. Those who inherit the demon? For generations, the Sonozaki family has had the custom of including the character of demon in the leaders' names. If you write out my name in your hand, it should appear plain as day. She traced out the word Mion on the palm of my hand. Oh, she's right. The character for demon is in there. Not only in my name either. The demon is engraved on my body as well. And she said that she quietly rose and began to lay her hand on her clothing. It's okay, Mi-chan. You don't need to show us, okay? Thank you. With just that exchange, I guessed what she meant. Most likely, somewhere on her body, there was a permanent seal, like a tattoo or marking, that proved she inherited the demon. Mion didn't sit back down. She smoothly opened the paper door to the porch. A refreshing breeze began to cleanse the damp air filling the room. Mion quietly gazed out at the wide yard for quite a while. On her shoulder there was something I could never imagine the normal Mion carrying. It was the heavy, truly heavy history of Hinamizawa. No, of Onikafuchi, weighing down on them. What kind of words could I possibly say to a Mion like that? Rena wasn't saying anything to her either. One of the voices of the cicadas drowned out the silence. At last, after a long period of nothing, Mion murmured, The serial incidents happened over the past 5 years. I was directly related to some of them, and indirectly to others. Some were not the Sonozaki family, but rather related to the others, the Kimiyoshi family and the Fude family. I think I was at the center of all of them. She said it all without turning around, with her back to us. At some point, her tone of voice had gone back to the Mion we knew. I have faith in what I've done, and don't feel any guilt. If I did, perhaps it would be that I would have to leave the stage before the heir is decided. If I am caught, I'm tried in the court of law, and I suppose that's how it works nowadays. Being able to retire with Hinamizawa at the most peaceful would be in 100 years. Could be the happiest thing that ever happened to any of the Sonozaki leaders in the past generations. Mion leaned his shoulder against the paper door, and slid down it and flopped on the ground. It was an act of such resignation that just seeing it made my me hurt inside. The numerous terrible crimes that Mion had been a part of suddenly began to fade from my memory. And Mion, I don't care what happens after this. Can't you just try to struggle as much as you can? Try to run away? As soon as I began to think that way, Rena's ringing voice filled the room.
But Rika-chan and Sadako-chan, you killed them, didn't you, Mi-chan?
The sharp points of her words stabbed into my chest despite not being directed at me.
I'm not saying it's okay that you killed other people. Regardless, Mi-chan, you killed Rika and Sadako-chan.
Rena's words were more biting than any I had ever heard. Even now, we knew all the heavy history pressing down on Mion's shoulders. She criticized her for killing her friends, just as I bear the duty of the Sonozaki family. Rika-chan bore the duty of the Furuta family. That duty was to protect the ritual storehouse. My chest tightened. I learned about last year that Rika-chan had said something about it. The bars in the storehouse door were too heavy for her. She wanted to change them to a simpler lock and key. Even the priest before her had complained about it being heavy. He was very aware of how hard it was for Rika-chan.
I will make sure to guard it. So I want to replace it with a lock that's slightly lighter.
I replied on the behalf of the Sonozaki family leader. Ever since the string of freak death incidents, there seemed to be people who were insolent towards Oda Shiro-sama, so you shouldn't replace the lock with a simpler one. That said, the leader of the Kimiyoshi family, Old Man Kimiyoshi, If that's difficult for you, Rika-chan, then I think it's okay to replace the lock, he said. The very fact that it was locked with a key was an indication of being somewhere you mustn't enter. There was nobody bad enough to break through it or go inside, he said. Even if we were alike as leaders, I couldn't find it in me to argue with the Old Man Kimiyoshi, since I owed him so much. In the end, we decided to change out the lock in the storehouse and switch it to a really cheap and light padlock. Old man, this is really all right. Nana says that if it's possible, we should keep the lock the same. It will be all right. You're quite the worrywart. If something happens, this old man will take all the responsibility. Do you promise? You mean that you'll take responsibility as leader of the Kimiyoshi family, right? You should be well aware of how sacred the things inside really are. It's okay. There aren't any bad cats in Hinamazawa who would open the lock and break in.
Meow meow.
Oh. Sobs escaped from my mouth. Something hot and wet dripped down in the spades and fell into the tatami mat. I had already heard of the thieves entering the ritual storehouse during the Watanagashi festival. There were 4 of them. We decided to act within the day. At the same time, we needed to demand the ones who allowed the thieves to break in, Rika-chan of the Furuta family and Old Man Kimiyoshi, take responsibility. My tears dripped and dropped. Until just now, I decided that it was Mion's fault. She killed Rika-chan and the others. That was wrong. The ones who killed them wasn't Mion. It was me. I might have, killed them.
Keiichi-kun.
I had a chance to stop this tragedy from happening, and yet I didn't. Cheap curiosity got the better of me, and I didn't. If at the time I had stopped us from sneaking into the ritual storehouse, Rika-chan and the others wouldn't have had to die. If I had, then nothing would have had happened. We would have been spending our days having lots of fun like we always did. I was an idiot. If by shedding tears I could take it all back, then I would have filled the room with them. However, such a meager act wouldn't be enough to redeem myself for the crime I'd committed. Kei-chan, you're not at fault. Mion gently began to speak to me, as if trying to reason with me. As the leader of the Sonozaki family, I needed to act. But given the history of the Sonozaki family, thinking on it now, it's no big deal. Maybe I should have saved my friends, even if it meant casting all that aside. I yielded to it, and that's why I killed those 2. I, Mion Sonozaki, and no one else killed them. I had hundreds of chances to stop it, but I didn't stop it. I gave in to the easy role that was handed to me, and abandoned all thought of fighting for my friends. So this is my crime. I killed them. Mion Sonozaki with these hands killed them. And nothing whatsoever changed. Nothing! Her masochistic laughter was sad, especially because Mion boasted in club that she would turn the tables on whatever predicaments presented themselves. It was so painful.
Still, Mi-chan, you saved one person of your own volition.
Huh? As I looked at her surprised, Rena stuck her finger right to my forehead.
You left Keiichi-kun alive. As strong as you are, Mi-chan, it would have been no trouble for you, but you didn't kill him.
That's right. Mion was so cunning that nobody could stand up to her, even in our club. If she seriously tried to kill me, I would have been dealt with on the very first night. So many people had been sacrificed, but I was always left out in the cold. When did I first realize it? Even though people were disappearing one after the other, for some reason, I had this vague belief that only I would be left alive. Why didn't I kill him? As a demon, I can't even begin to guess. Maybe Mion had some reason she didn't want to kill you. What's that supposed to mean? Shh. Mion put a finger to her lips to say that Rena didn't need to talk. Is Oshi waiting outside?
Yes.
Any way out?
No. They say that they have the place surrounded. Seems like they called a lot of cars over the radio. I think they have your entire property surrounded.
Mion fell silent. Rena's merciless words felt cruel. But they weren't meant to be. Maybe they were trying to lessen her good friend's pain, if only by little. Maybe they were considerate, like she was trying to help.
Please, turn yourself in.
Mion didn't open her mouth, but she smiled, just a little.
We'll go with you. We'll never leave a friend by herself.
Crying children and Rena are the only things I can't beat. She rose, scratching her head. Her face had returned entirely to that of the usual Mion. I'm well aware of how serious my own crimes are. Even if they accept me turning myself in, I'll probably never be able to come back here. I couldn't say anything. The number of deaths Mion was involved in was just too large. So much so that maybe recommending that she turn herself in was in a way extremely cruel. So, I'd like to hear one last selfish request.
What is it?
30 minutes is fine. Just let me have some alone time with Kei-chan. Huh? My name suddenly came up, and it looked like I was the only one surprised by that.
Kei-chan, is that okay with you? If you don't want to, then I won't make you.
You're right. It's okay if you don't want to. After all, I'm a demon, and Kei-chan is a bona fide human who moved here from somewhere else. For us to be compatible, as long as Hotoshiro-sama doesn't exist to mediate, simply isn't possible. There was no reason for me to hesitate. Mion had been engulfed by heavy, unopposable tradition. Right now, the duty of handling this had fallen to me and me alone. In fact, with me cornered, it would have been okay for her to blame me. However, Mion didn't say one word of blame. Far from it, I was guilty of the same crime. She let me go. Amidst the fate she could not oppose, she saved me alone. I didn't know whether I should be thankful for that. Thinking about it upon it now, I didn't know how much easier it would be if I were to be granted the same punishment as Riko-chan and the others. The only thing I knew for sure was that I had an equal duty to bear the sins that Mion shouldered. So when it came to Mion's last request, there was no reason for me to hesitate. Sure. I gotta adjust again. Ah! Sure, it's fine. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you too, Kei-chan.
Rena stood up. It looked like she would keep her promise with Mion and leave. It's fine, Rena. You can wait right here. I just want to go around the yard with Kei-chan. If you're bored, you can go to my room. You can read any manga you like. And if there are any volumes you like, you might as well take them.
I don't want to. Mi-chan's books belong to Mi-chan. Rena couldn't bring them back home with her so freely.
You're such a good kid. Only at times like this. Mion took Rena's head and rubbed it violently like I always did. Okay, let's go, Kei-chan. I began to walk after Mion, heading for the hallway, when Rena silently stopped me.
Take care of Mi-chan.
Yeah.
Mi-chan really does believe she won't ever be able to come back.
I didn't know about laws, but with as many deaths as she had been involved in, the chances of her escaping a heavy punishment seemed non-existent.
Watch out, so you don't make her lose her temper, okay?
Mion might not surrender herself to justice, so I might have to put an end to it myself, and I had already thought that far ahead. Right. I won't let that happen. And I rubbed at her tears, which had fallen without me noticing them.
Okay, then go after her.
I nodded and followed Mion, who had disappeared out the front door. I could clearly hear Rena sobbing from the other side of the paper door. Why was Mi-chan made a successor to demons? Maybe it just had to happen that way. But it's just so awful. Something hot burned down my cheeks. They were my tears. I fiercely wiped them away. This was the last of my time I could offer to Mion, so I absolutely did not want to see her to see my tears during it. Mion was already waiting outside at the front door.
Yet. It's really interesting that in the manga, and I believe in the PS2 games and stuff, Mion's actually wearing a yukata, or a robe at least, like a white robe during these times, and then especially in the anime too. There's an achievement I just got called. Sorry about that. I put on my shoes, tapped my toes against the floor a few times, and left. Mion timidly came over. Why is she turning all red at a time like this? Can I hold your arm? It was such a modest request. I don't mind. With my permission, her face lit up with glee, like a child being given a toy. Do you get kind of nervous with your arm through mine? You're not thinking, for example, that I'd suddenly put you into a world-class joint lock or anything. You two say the same things. I don't think that. At all. Back when nothing had gone wrong yet. During those nostalgic days of the bustling commotion at Angel Mart, I counted back and was amazed. It had only been 1 week ago. I had been arm in arm with Shion then too. Linking arms with Mion like this really reminded me that they were twins. How much strength they put into it, the sensation of their arms, their warmth, the blood flowing. I could feel their living sensations were all exactly the same. I think Shion liked you, Kei-chan. I see. If that were a regular conversation, I might jump back, red in the face. Right now, though, no matter what I heard, I would remain at peace. Mion and Shion, you got along well, didn't you? Well, I wonder. Kei-chan, do you think your right hand or left hand get along? Huh? My right hand and left hand? I don't think you could describe them as getting along or not. That's how our relationship is. You can't measure it by a scale of how well we get along. That didn't sound like it was meant to get along really well. For example, one of your hands is dominant, so it's always be a better hand. If you only had one other knit, you'd put it on your dominant hand without thinking, right? I think maybe that's how it's like that for us. That doesn't mean, though, that anybody could be okay with losing their left hand. It's that kind of unexplainable relationship. I think that maybe you live too close together and just stop being able to see it, but I think that means you get along really well. I'm an only child, so the day before the festival, I was really jealous of when you and Shion were messing around with each other. I think you're jealous of something that doesn't exist. Yes, we're twins, used to have a lot of fun playing tricks on people. But now that we have such distinct different personalities, it just gets in the way. Were they cursed, or were they self-conscious? The relationship was hard to understand for an outsider. Maybe it wasn't an issue someone like me could intrude on. Just staying silent and nodding gently was the best way to advance the conversation. Mion passed through the wide yard and invited me into a big, desolate forest we had seen on the way in. Such a big forest was part of their property, so I couldn't help but feel small. It's huge. We must have a great time playing it as kids, huh? Mion seemed to be silently reminiscing. I couldn't look into her mind, but she was probably thinking back to those fun days when they played as sisters without any antagonism. Every time the wind blew, it caressed the treetops and leaves, making a swishing, murmuring sound. Mion remained silent for a long time, thinking back on her younger sister, whom she had gotten rid of with her own hands. There was no need to get a word in. Just walking like this, arm in arm, was enough. Mion suddenly stopped and turned. Shion is still alive. Really? Mion took a hard look in my eyes and then nodded quietly. Yeah. I've been thinking to give her the most horrible death of all, so I had her locked up. I didn't think of a good way to do it, though. Mion sounded as though she hated Shion, but also deep down she didn't completely detest her, so I took my other hand and rustled Mion's hair with it. Mion didn't only save me. She saved Shion, too. Mion may have been a demon and led many people to their death, but she fought against it and was able to save 2 people. As I petted Mion, she narrowed her eyes in an entranced smile, and tangled her arm from mine. Then Mion quietly said, Come with me. I want you to see all of my sins.
Although, Kei-chan, it might be the worst thing you've ever seen. I could sense it. I would probably find all the sacrifices up until now. Looking at them would mean accepting Rika-chan and Satoko's death, as well as accepting that my best friend had done it. It's already happened. It's in the past. You can choose not to look, Kei-chan. If you don't want to, then wait here. I will personally end everything. Taken back by how ominous that sounded, I remembered what Rena had told me. Mion might not surrender herself to justice, but instead choose to put an end to everything to things herself. I couldn't leave her on her alone. Besides, I agreed to her last request, didn't I? Even if it was hard to me to accept, I'll still do it. Even if I avoided looking, it was something that had already happened. It doesn't matter what I see. Yes? Mion Sonozaki is the best friend I could ever have. That won't change. It never will. The tree top softly swayed in the wind. You and Rena both. Why do you only get really cool at times like these? Normally I'd say something rude right back at her, invading the question, but today I didn't. I just answered with a smile. At last Mion started walking, into the thick forest, into the deepest part. After following a thin path that looked like an animal trail for a while, we came across a steep incline with a tunnel that reminded me of a coal mine or a bomb shelter. It was surrounded by shallow hills, and had been created in a spot not visible from the outside. There are many silhouettes of crows in the trees here and there. The abnormal odor I was smelling for a while was doubtlessly escaping from inside this place. If you want to turn back, now is your chance. I don't know what kind of person Mion Sonozaki is to you, but if you go inside, that Mion will probably. She won't change. I'll say it as many times as I need to. Mion Sonozaki is the best friend I could ever have. I clenched my fists. Inside there was probably a sight beyond anything I could imagine. If I let my guard down, I'd end up bottoming. Even so, I'll endure it. I'll overcome this pain, this suffering. It will never change. That Mion is my greatest friend. I'm nothing more than a demon, so I don't understand human feelings anymore. I have a feeling, though, that I know why Mion fell in love with you. Don't say that like it's not related to you. You're Mion. You're not a demon. You're a human with human blood, and you're my friend. Mion made a gesture like she was wiping tears from her eyes, and placed her hand on the big door to the tunnel entrance. The lock on it was dauntingly strong-looking. Seemed to demand the appropriate resolution for whatever would enter, just like the ritual storehouse. The double doors opened, stifling rotted air, and a bunch of winged insects came rushing out. Remember accidentally killing a hermit crab a long time ago by leaving its tank out on the porch, and how intense the odor it was. That was the smell of a corpse. It certainly was what this smelled like. Inside it was pitch black, but Mion flicked a switch that turned on a light bulb, illuminating the interior. The path turned into a series of intricate wooden tunnels. You passed spaces that looked like they were for storage. You passed spaces that looked like someone had lived there. All this indicated it had been used as a bomb shelter and stockpiled during the war. It didn't give an impression of a dugout bomb shelter that had just been left there, though. There was a sense of dignity, as though this were a second Shion Sonozaki home, constructed underground. Despite being in the pitch darkness below the ground, the voices of the cicadas had entered through an air hole somewhere, giving it a very mysterious feel. You saw what was in the ritual storehouse, right? The piles of torture instruments. All of them were created to uphold the strict religious laws of Onigafuchi village. They were tools used to kill those who broke the laws in terrible ways as a warning to others. That was a long time ago. Watanagashi, originally a ritual meant to deterrent, was once overseen by the three families. But thanks to the Kimiyoshi and Furei families going into decline, and the way that times changed, actually carrying it out became difficult. I can imagine why. You'd never think people would be okay with drowning people into a swamp and killing them in modern Japan. That's why the Sonozaki family built this, a secret place, so it could continue to conduct the rite of Watanagashi even in modern times. Mion opened a large, strikingly different door, and inside was none other than a modern storehouse for ritual implements. There's quite a few, isn't there? Some of them actually brought here from the original storehouse. All these things have been rusty and covered in dust, so they didn't seem that real. But the things that were here were different. Every one of them had been well maintained and kept in a state that they'd be used right now. Blades gleamed and spikes were sharpened. Also, perhaps as a precaution for the splatter of blood, the walls and ceilings were covered in the kind of tiling that you'd see in bathrooms. There were even a drain set amidst a slight slope in the floor. There was also a coiled rubber hose along the wall attached to a faucet, perhaps to clean up the splattered blood. According to something a leader from a long time ago wrote, blood splatter has impact, despite the fact that it doesn't tax the sacrifice. Watanagashi was meant as a deterrent, after all. My ancestors thought of all different things to show off. As she said that, Mion pointed deeper into the torture room, to a spot veiled in darkness. There was surprisingly a room filled with tatami mats, and in the corner was a pile of cushions. They are seats for the audience. Watanagashi was meant as a deterrent, after all. It wouldn't make sense if there were no guests. I couldn't speak. I couldn't think of anything to say anyway, except that if Mion's revealing this all to me made her heart feel any lighter, then I was prepared to listen as long as I needed to. Right here is where I killed everyone. There were no spectators to watch me, but I did the Watanagashi very well. Well, perhaps there was one spectator.
Huh? A spectator?
Me. I, the demon, was watching the entire time Mion held the Watanagashi ceremony. Mion cackled in self-deprecation. It wasn't a nice-sounding laugh. Back there is the prison. Is Shion there? She nodded slightly. Mion's Watanagashi had ended today. I needed to tell Shion that I was safe without a moment's delay. After that, she'd probably be trembling in fear in this very moment, worrying when she'd be killed. The ostentatious door on the other side was opened, revealing what must have been an incredibly expansive space based on the echo it made. Mion groped around in the darkness, and a handful of naked light bulbs came on here and there. As my eyes adjusted more and more, the great cave showed itself in the faint light. The walls were bare rock surface, and felt so savage that the bomb shelter was merely apt term for it. There were small barreled rooms built here and there, like holes made for insects biting their way through a giant piece of fruit. It was immediately clear that each one of them was a prison. Where is everyone? Rika-chan and Satoko? Their corpses? I grimaced at her, having said so outright. Yeah, that's right. The poor things have been left here in the dark like this. I didn't want them to get infested with bugs, so I threw them down the well. I'm sorry. I can't even see their faces in death. Once again, my feelings of regret at having confessed everything to Rika-chan came surging forth. If Mion hadn't attached the word sorry at the end of what she said, I might have punched her. Calm down, Keiichi Maribara. You said it yourself. No matter what, Mion Sonosaki is your greatest friend. Yeah, my greatest friend. I needed to hear myself say it out loud. Then came the clattering of bars on one of the cells deeper in. When I noticed it, I looked up as well. Shion? Is that Shion? Kei-chan? Is that you, Kei-chan? I ran over to the cell. White hands were peeking through the gaps in the bars. It really was her. Are you alright, Shion? Are you hurt? No. Shion's face twisted out of shape as she screamed. It was because Mion was appearing right behind me. Of course. Shion didn't know that everything was over yet. Calm down, Shion. Everything's already over. Everything. I spoke in a calm voice as I could manage to try and soothe the agitated Shion, but it seemed like it was getting through her screams. Shion, how have you been? No more, please. No more. I don't want to see anyone else die. If you hate me, then just kill me already. I'm the one you hate, right? Kill me right now. Sis! Calm down, Shion. It's all over now. It's going to be alright, so calm down. Shion, who was screaming and rattling the iron bars back and forth, was truly in a frantic state. I gave a slight shrug of resignation, giving way to Mion. I'd realized that if Mion was the one who locked her in here, and if Mion was the one who had scared Shion this much, then Mion also was the only one who could put an end to this. Mion spoke from over my shoulder, quietly. Relax. I won't kill you. No, I won't kill you just yet. She burst out into a bizarre laugh, as if trying to make Shion's madness even worse. Shion broke into a fierce shiver, brought on by that laugh, and rattled the iron bars as she wailed, Please stop! Don't kill Kei-chan! Kei-chan has nothing to do with this, does he? If you're going to kill someone, then kill me right now! I don't want anyone else to die! If you want to die that badly, then after I've killed this man, I'll take my time making mincemeat out of you. In accordance with the ancient rites, I'll do it slowly, starting with your excrements. I'll shave you down and mince you. I've had that mincing machine set up specifically for you, after all. Or would it be funnier if I were to mince up Kei-chan in front of you? Hey, quit already! What do you have to gain from scaring her at this point? No, No! Kei-chan, run away! I tried to rebuke Mion by flinging terrible words at her this late in the game, but when I turned around, Mion's mouth, so much as it was hard to believe, was twisted into a shape even thinner than crescent moon. It was a smile. It sent it like a jolt of electricity. The person here wasn't my best friend Mion. It wasn't the Mion Sonozaki who tossed about her heavy duty of succeeding the Sonozaki family either. Then, who was she? Bam! I saw sparks flying before my eyes from what happened when getting hit in the back of the head. The strength of my body drained instantly, and my head suddenly became heavy. My knees buckled under the temptation and hit the floor. Then my whole body abruptly collapsed. My face should have hit the floor, but it was comfortable, as it had fallen into a down-filled futon. My consciousness reeled, then receded. It was the kind of sensation that if you took a nap in the car, but you were still half awake, you could listen to your parents talking as if they were far away. No, you wouldn't be listening. You'd only be hearing it. It was happening so far away. The conversation was completely unrelated to you, so you would have no interest in it. So either Shion was yelling in my ears, or Mion was in vulgar hysterics. I didn't think it was annoying, nor did it interest me. Now then, I wonder how I should go about preparing you. Oh yes, what do you think of a bed of nails? I tested on those two little brats, but their hands were too small for their straining table. Let's do that! Let's do that! Mion held up from behind and dragged me across the floor. The soles of my feet scraped on it, and one of my shoes fell off. No! Please stop! Shion's emotions exploded outward. She burst into bitter weeping, as if her crying had welted Mion's interests. She again flung me down and returned to the prison cell. Ma, you sure can cry with a cute voice, can't you? Your unnatural bravado has made my skin crawl, but this definitely suits you the best. You're my big sis, I beg you. I don't care how you choose to kill me, but please at least let Kei-chan go. I'm begging you. Shion has always acted like she was a cut above her older sister. That Shion in such a miserable voice that I couldn't have imagined during these peaceful times. Prostrated herself before her older sister, she used to scoff and plead forgiveness. Mion looked down with an expression of cold indifference, one that was plainly smiling with joy. You know, I wasn't planning on listening to your petty wishes. The way you're crying, though, it's just too funny. I think maybe I'll change my mind and listen to you. Since, come to think of it, I never did anything big sister-like for you. Yes, thank you so much. Alright then, let's hear your apology for everything. Maybe I'll let the water under the bridge. Maybe, just maybe, I'll let Kei-chan go. Mion said she might let me go, but she never said anything about letting Shion go. Before long, Shion got her on her hands and knees behind the bars and began to speak weak words of apology. They were too faint for me to hear, but their intent got across. Despite having watched her with a magnificent, jubilant expression, Mion kicked the bars and declared she was unsatisfied. You think you can make up for years of grudges and hard feelings like that? That just won't do. I guess I'll have to make mincemeat out of both of you. No! Please, sis! One more chance! Just one more chance! Mion stopped and waved her hand again in resignation. Not because she had grown impatient, but only because she was taking delight in abusing Shion. You can't apologize to my satisfaction anyway. I'll teach you how to make an apology that will get through to your older sister. I'm only going to tell you once. If you ever get a letter wrong, you're out. Got it? Yes. Thank you, sis. Oh. Shion's miserable voice cried out, having become utterly hoarse. The sensation tearing through my chest returned a little at a time. I realized there was a feeling of anger bubbling up. I was slowly regaining control of my body. However, I was only able to feel my skin and my blood flowing at the moment. I still couldn't voluntarily move my fingers. Did you memorize it? Then let's hear you say it. Sincerely and faithfully, from beginning to end, with all your heart. If you can do it properly, I'll only kill you. Yes. Thank you so much. Something was strange. Something had become strange at that point. Until just a few moments ago, I was sure this had been Mion. But at some point, she had become someone else. The Mion I knew well would never do something nasty like trampling over someone's dignity like this. Now, let's hear it. Your big sister is listening closely. Shion Sonozaki, yes. When I ran over to Shion's cell earlier, had the real thing been swapped out with the fake right behind me? Anyway, this couldn't possibly be Mion. Shion Sonozaki is a lowly, worthless cell, not fit to even lick her big sister Mion's feet. And when I think of the countless times I've been rude to my big sister without knowing my place... Yes, that's the spirit. I'll permit you to say a little more now, okay? Blood circulated through my whole body. My numb senses were returning. Just a little more. While Shion is still holding Mion's, no, that thing's pretending to be Mion's attention. Hurry up. I reflect on how impertinent I've been. Swear loyalty to my big sister Mion for the rest of my life. So... Mion bursts of laughter echoed through the big cave, growing at a terrifying level. It's not the laughter of someone alive in this world. It was none other than the laughter of a demon from the bowels of the earth. She laughed from her stomach until she grew tired of it, and simply stopped smiling suddenly as if snipping a wire. Alright already. That was funny enough for me. I don't think you'd throw away that much of your pride. That was plenty enjoyable. Mion began to drag me again, after I finally got feeling in my body back, and pulled me towards the torture chamber. Sis! Only kill me! Please forgive him! Don't worry, alright? I'll be sure to kill you real good. After letting you get an earful of Kei-chan's screams, that is. No! After dragging me into the torture chamber, she skillfully strapped me into the restraining table. Before I knew it, I was sprawled out and bound. She forced open my hands, which I couldn't even make a satisfying fist, and tightly restrained each one of my fingers. She fastened only my hands and fingers at that, tightened with the hinges and locking them in place. Sis, don't kill him! Sis! The door to the big cave with the jails had been left open, so I could hear Shion's cries of mortification the entire time. Can you hear it, Shion? I'm going to get started now. Please enjoy Kei-chan's young screams. Give it a fucking rest. The feeling in my body had returned, and the first action I took was to tell off the thing that looked like Mion. Awake at last, are we? I lied before, you know. About having wanted to see Shion the most miserable death of all, but locking her up because I hadn't thought of a good way yet. That was a lie. Mion brought over something like a toolbox. From inside it, she removed a large metal hammer. Next to it, she began to line up what looked like long, strangely shaped nails, whose ends were turned into hooks, like the kind you'd see on a harpoon. I'll let her hear the screams of all those people that died because of her, and after that they've soaked into her very soul, then I'll kill her. Got a pretty good taste, huh? Who are you? Ha! I'm Mion! Mion Sonozaki! Has the fear driven you crazy? No, you're not. There's no way you can be Mion Sonozaki. Mion snorted and continued her preparations for the horrifying torture. I see. Then if I'm not Mion, who am I? A demon. Huh? You're not Mion. Mion was just here. Give her back. Kei-chan, is your brain really doing okay? You're not going crazy with fear. Don't touch me. You damn demon. Give her back. Give Mion back. My best friend, give Mion back! Mion stood there for a moment with her jaw hanging open, not expecting me to say that. I myself knew that I was about to go insane. I knew it was nonsense to demand Mion's return when she was right in front of me. But this person in front of me couldn't possibly have been Mion. There was no way I could accept that. So, this is what I thought. Mion really had been possessed by a demon, and was controlling Mion as if it were a separate personality. Mion was just victim being manipulated by it. The evil one was really this thing. Had been doing this demon possessing her. When Mion heard that, she started to guffaw, laughing so hysterically that she started to cough and almost choked. You really are a piece of work, you know that? In this very moment, Mion Sonozaki is trying to kill you, and you're trying to reject me? I never knew there was such a phony person in all the world. If you wanted to laugh, I'll do it all you want. No matter what you say, I won't accept that you're Mion. Give her back. Away with you, demon. Kei-chan, are you trying to kill me by drowning me in my own tears? No matter what, I wouldn't lose to that laughter of hers. I shouted loudly. I shouted from the bottom of my heart so that the real Mion trapped inside the Mion I saw in front of me would be able to hear. You can do it, Mion. Don't lose to this piece of shit demon. You're strong. Show me how strong you are. The tears welled up and flooded down her face. Her hands were busy with the restraints, so she couldn't even wipe them. She just let them flow. Please, Mion. Mion. Where did you lose? When did you lose to a demon like this? You're not that weak, are you? Don't lose. Fight! Fight! Mion, desperately enduring her laughter, pressed one of the long nails to the tip of my left pinky. In her left hand was the hammer. At her side were a dozen more nails. I could tell what she was about to do, though I wish I couldn't. Even so, I couldn't afford to be scared. That was why I shouted. My sides hurt like they're about to split. Is that all? I'm going to get started now. Be sure to give her some good screams. Not only am I torturing you, Kei-chan, but I'm torturing Shion as well. Why? Why? Why would you? Mion. Then I wept. Only sobs came out. They weren't an acceptance of the torture about to be performed, however. They were tears of regret that Mion had lost to the demon. But a small change occurred in Mion in front of me. Her heightened excitement was draining little by little. By the time I'd realized it, the only one in front of me had returned to being Mion. Kei-chan, this may not be something pleasant to take to the grave with you. You really seem to want to know, though, so I'll tell you just one thing. I don't know if this was Mion or just a display of momentary humanity the demon had recovered. A long time before the demon came to live inside me, it was gnawing at my heart, trying to spur me to violence, but I suppressed it with my reason. I settled the demon down, and I got thinking it had gone away somewhere. As it turned out, I was wrong. It hadn't left me, it had just gone to sleep. I noticed that there were tears forming in her eyes. The demon woke up again due to a certain small opportunity. What do you think that opportunity was? There was a sad yet reproachful light in Mion's eyes. Do you understand? I don't. I don't know what gave the demon a chance to beat Mion. This might be strange for me, a demon, to say, but you're the reason everything got so messed up. The tears welled up in her eyes, spilling downward all of a sudden. At the time, if you had given me that doll you had got without hesitating, maybe everything wouldn't have gotten so twisted. The doll I got. That doll that I got when we had our club meeting in that toy store on Sunday. You probably can't understand. I wouldn't expect you to. But you see, all sorts of things started falling over like dominoes after that. Soon it was too much for me to control. It only makes sense that you wouldn't be aware of knocking over the first one since it was so small. But you're the one who set it up. That can't be me. If you hadn't made Mion cry, then I wouldn't have had to wake up. Is that enough? For you to die in peace? A mistake that I had made on that day was what messed everything up? That can't be, can it? It only makes sense that you wouldn't be aware of it. Even so, Kei-chan, you're not without doubt the cause. If you had nonchalantly given me that doll that day, I don't think this would have happened. I wanted to say like I just remembered something as I recalled that day. And it told me about that. I thought I had apologized. I didn't apologize to Mion, though. It had been Shion. In other words, oh God, I hadn't said a single word of apology to Mion. Today, I came to this house saying I had something to apologize for, but I never said a word of apology for this. Trying to think of it when I was apologizing for going in the ritual storehouse. Mion looked a little bit lonely, like she was disappointed. Why didn't I realize that till just now? When it told me at the time, and now she herself, no, the demon, was telling me. It's the only way for a density like me to be cured is to die altogether. I could no longer hold back the hot tears from pouring out of me. I simply just cried and cried, and reflected on the taste of my indifferently, on the taste of my tears, on the taste of regret. Can I start now then? This method of torture is simple. I'll nail one of these into the joint at the end of your left pinky. Then I'll nail each one in order until you get to your thumb. And then go back to the pinky and nail one into the joint in the middle. So on and on until I hammer 15 nails into your left hand. And then that's over with. I'll do it to your right hand next. After that, if you're still conscious, I'll tell you. There's a lot of nerves bundled in your fingertips, so it hurts far more than you could imagine. Some people apparently pass out before you finish hammering 13 nails in their hands, so Mion pressed the tip of the nail to my left pinky finger. My wrists, my arms, all my joints on my fingers were strapped in so tightly it hurt, and I couldn't even twitch. I didn't hesitate at all when I was torturing the others. Why do I hesitate now? This will satisfy your demon, Mion. If it will save the demon, then do what you want, you will. Art Are you serious? Compared to how much I hurt Mion, this is nothing, right? Do as much as you want. In exchange, promise me 2 things. Mion was silent. She did, however, wait for me to speak. After you're satisfied with causing me pain, forgive Shion. She's been punished enough to make up for her crime of sneaking in the storehouse, hasn't she? You. After all this, you can still worry about Shion more than yourself. The other thing is that when you've had your fill, you disappear. Give that body back to Mion. That's all. You know, aren't you even considering possibly begging for your life or anything? Can I ask you to promise 3 things instead of 2? The third is to leave me alive. You said 2 in the beginning, didn't you? So you can't have any more. That's a shame. In such an abnormal situation, Mion and I laughed quietly together, as if sharing in a stupid joke. I probably won't keep these promises, understand? I'm a demon after all. I guess there's nothing I can do then. I recall tightening my hands into a fist when enduring the pain at the dentist's office. Right now, though, they were opened all the way to my fingertips. I couldn't even grip them. So instead I tightened my toes. Okay, do it. I prepared myself already, so do it. You're waiting out like this to hammer into my nails is even, and it is scarier. Gonna diminish my readiness after all. Mion put down the hammer and gently stroked my cheek. Kei-chan, I'll agree to just the 3rd thing, okay? Huh? My 3rd wish, to save me. She'll agree to it? Your 1st wish, to save Shion. That's long done for. The demon will kill her. It's already been decided, so I can't stop it, so give up on that. Her delicate fingers slipped from my cheek to my chin. As for your 2nd wish, to give this body back to Mion, that won't happen either. After today, Mion will never come back. From today on, even if my body is here, it'll just be a body. Because the Oni has taken it over. That isn't true. Mion is Mion. Don't say such sad things, like she'll never come back. Can you hear it? That sound. Mion gently closed her eyes and listened. I definitely heard it as well. It was a dull sound, that noise that repeated at fixed intervals, a low noise accompanied by vibrations. A lot of people were ramming the iron doors at this underground ritual storehouse. You're late. Serena probably called Oshi. That spaced-out girl being so quick-thinking was the one thing I didn't anticipate. I agree with you there. Mion grinned like she was been outwitted, and took something that looked like an electric razor out of her pocket. When she pressed the switch, pale blue sparks flew out with a snapping noise. You've probably never seen one before, right? It's a real stun gun. It's illegal, and its output has been increased quite a bit. Is that what you hit me with before? It's not a toy children should be playing with, you know. You're right. She seemed to want to use the stun gun on me. Unable to move, I felt her press the cold lump of metal to my neck. I heard a roar as though they had broken down the first large door. The halls were a bit complex. Aside from the door to this very torture chamber, there was nothing in their way. I won't kill you, but I'll have you go to sleep for a bit, Kei-chan. Oshi will be here soon. This will only hurt a bit. Feeling the same shock as before, gritting my teeth wasn't going to help much, but I clenched them tightly anyway. However, just as she was about to do the hammers and nails, she hesitated a bit, cracked open my tightly closed eyelids. I'm sorry for disgracing Mion. I made a promise before coming in here. Whatever happens, the Mion inside my heart won't change. Look, forget about that. If you ever see me after today, don't come near me. By then, it'll be the demon that inherited my corpse. What are you talking about? Just as I tried to say that, a much stronger light than before shined like a television being switched off, and my consciousness went black. Oh shit! Something's happening! June 1983. Disappearance occurred. Fuck! Wait, stop. A string of disappearances occurred at Hinamizawa village in Sushibo City Prefecture. The suspect is Mion Sonozaki. She is suspected to have kidnapped 5 Hinamizawa residents between June 19th and June 21st. Honoring Sonozaki, Shion Sonozaki, Kochijiro Kimiyoshi, Rika Furure, Satoko. Preliminary investigations on the delay due to the fact of insufficient evidence.
but the result coincidentally and shockingly. On the morning of the 23rd, a vehicle patrolling the Sonozaki property heard screams from inside and rushed in an emergency measure. They secured the suspect's missing younger sister, Shion Sonozaki, and her two missing classmates, Keiichi Maebara and Rena Ryugu. The suspect fled the scene. Deep in the detached basement of the Sonozaki property, which is believed to be used to kill those who disappeared, we discovered hair, flakes of skin, blood, etc. for the 4 missing persons. We concluded the missing persons were tortured in the torture chamber. However, their remains have still not been found. On one of her poisoned classmates' advice, we continued searching the detached basement of the Sonozaki property, believing that they were there. However, we had not located them or the suspect's escape route. In addition, the investigations are continuing as her participation in the serial freak death events in recent years. But no evidence that Mio and Sonozaki were involved, either directly or indirectly, have been found. Still, many unclear points as to the motive behind the incident, and those of the Sonozaki family and the residents of Hinamizawa have been extremely uncooperative in assisting. In the opinion of a local officer knowledgeable about the region, there may have been a lynching, an internal form of punishment sacrilegious acts, carried out against the police of Hinamizawa village. It's clear that these incidents are practically rooted in their region, and the Prefecture Police Department has ordered a cautious investigation. We anticipate going via clues. The missing person is believed to have been in prison for a long time, Shion Sonozaki, the suspect's sister, but her mind was stricken by the grave after effects of the incident, and she has not been in a state of mind to properly answer any questions about what she knows. Psychiatrists conclude that she is in a temporary state of shock, but it doesn't seem hopeful that she will recover today either. Only a few days passed since that time. After that, I was rescued by Oshi-san and his subordinates, whom Rena had called in. Aside from my entirely blank state of mind, I had no external injuries. The most I had was the small burn mark from where the stun gun hit me. As I was having a checkup in the hospital, Oshi-san asked me all sorts of things, but I don't remember what he asked or how I answered them. From what I heard, surprisingly, Mion still hadn't been captured. There was apparently a great many hallways and smaller rooms extending out from the depths of the prison. It wouldn't be strange if you had fled to one of those and hidden herself. The one fortunate aspect amidst all the fortune was that Shion had been safely secured by the police. When I last saw Mion, she seemed like she was going to take me with her and then kill me. She probably didn't have enough time to, though, since Oshi-san came running in faster than she predicted. That was the only real fortunate thing to have happened. Of course, the rescued Shion, despite not having external wounds, now had a deep wound in her heart. She was in severe state of confusion when they rescued her, and apparently she bit the police officers trying to resist. From what he heard, she was seeing Mion in everyone she saw, hated not only the hospital, but even her own home, and had shut herself somewhere in Shisabone, hiding her location. Additionally, in fear that Mion would come for her, she was moving from place to place every day, and even her parents weren't sure where she actually was. Wherever she was living, even now, Shion was spending her days in fear of Mion's shadow. The police were investigating the Sonozaki underground storehouse at this moment, since they couldn't find the remains of the other sacrifices. Hadn't Mion thrown the corpses into a well? I had a feeling I had said that to him. That meant a hidden tunnel, vertical like a well, was somewhere in those underground passages. The secret underground, without any maps or architectural drawings, would have swallowed up the remains of Rika-chan, Satoko, and everyone else. I was still unwilling to speak the truth. I brought back that basement again, too, for an on-site inspection or something, but I didn't remember being of any help. I never wanted to go back there again. For days afterwards, the Sonozakis living in Okiyamiya, in other words, Mion and Shion's parents, the big-name Yakuza, would come to our house to apologize, bringing many of their followers with them. However much my parents refused it, they piled up many hundreds of yen bills, calling it consultation money every day. The amount of money grew each day, and after it had passed 2 billion yen, they were then given an envelope containing a letter. I didn't know what was written in the letter. My parents talked about it by themselves for the 2 whole nights, and decided to move away.
I see. You're moving, huh? When?
At the end of the next month. I won't even have been in Hinamizawa for half a year.
I'll be lonely. I'm the only one left.
Lena smiled sadly. If I had just said yeah, I thought it would make her even more lonely, so I changed the subject. Here's something to think about. That's how I broached it. Mion hadn't actually fled, but was demoned away in the truest sense of the term. When she went after she disappeared, that we didn't know. What was there when she had disappeared to? Oh, if there was a hobby shop dealing in imports, the kind Mion liked. In that place she'd definitely be free from the burdensome feathers of her family. And live not as Mion Sonozaki, but as just Mion, and enjoy herself. Maybe she already met up with Satoko and Nika-chan. They must also be waiting for the day Rena and I joined them, spending all their time doing club activities as lively as they always were. When I told Rena that, she smiled and nodded to me. The incidents that the Sonozaki family had been trying so hard to hide were exposed in the magazines from this single tiny seam. The serial incidents of the recent years had been all pulled up like a long vine in the ground, one by one, and for many days news of it was brought up on talk shows and variety shows. The shows, which were comedic and silly, never once tried to touch upon the grim, heavy history that Mion had been bearing. It made me mad to see them bringing this stuff up in jest, but there's nothing I could do about it now. How big an impression would these short few weeks I spent in Hinamizawa have on my life? During these few weeks, I met my best friends and had the best experiences of my life. I'd probably never forget it for as long as I lived. As for the distorted image of Mion that the media created, after the masses got tired of treating her like a plaything, they'd ball her up, throw her in the trash, and then she'd fade from their memories. As one of the few people who knew the real Mion, I must always make sure I remember her. Beyond any doubt, that will surely become my offer. The sky reached up so far, and towered cumulus clouds floated through. The real summer was just before our eyes. Even now, whenever 10 p.m. came around, I would expect a phone call from Shion, or Mion rather. Now that everything was over, of course, she would never call me. But it was precisely because she wouldn't call me that I was scared. Who would call me this time? Plus, Mion still hadn't been caught. I couldn't say for sure that everything was completely over. On the other side of that fear, though, were my prayers that Mion was safe. When I thought like that, I was able to sleep, even with such terrifying thoughts. The lights were off. Before her attacking when the lights are off was something that scared me. However, the feeling changed to regret within 2 days. The moonlight flittering through the gap in the curtains shone onto the desk and illuminated a doll. That's right, the doll that I should have given to Mion that day. She said it was import from England or something, and it was all the rage, didn't she? From what Shion said, the most popular among them was the ones wearing the fluffy dresses. After being released from the incident, the first place I went to was that toy shop. Everything was apparently sold out besides the things in the storefront displays. I was refused once they said they wouldn't sell the display products. When they realized I was Survivor A from that incident, they immediately consented. Of course, even if I brought it, I'd never have the chance to give it to her again. Even knowing that, I waited for the opportunity to give it to her. I waited like that, for this opportunity, with it on my desk, so I gave it to her at any time. Plunk. There was a weird noise. It was a noise I wasn't used to hearing. It was too big to be raindrops. It's completely different from the sound of lost bugs make it when they run into fluorescent lights. I figured I must have misheard and nestled back into my futon. Plunk. Noise happened again. I wasn't hearing things. Definitely heard it. Where was it coming from? I got up and turned on the light. If there was a second, then there would be a third. From where, though? Listen carefully. Plunk. The window. Some sort of pebbles were colliding with my window. When I realized they weren't being blown there by the wind, but rather being thrown by a person, I gave a start. I looked at the clock. It was 2 a.m. Who would it be at a time like this? I quietly peeked out front to the gap in the curtains. In the light at the gate, despite it being so late, I saw someone. They picked up a piece of gravel and threw it out this window. Hit the window and made a plonking sound. Who was it? I caught my breath in surprise. If my eyes weren't deceiving me, that person was Mion. I threw open the window and looked at the figure again. My eyes certainly weren't deceiving me. It was Mion. It was Mion. She was alive! Mion pressed her index finger to her lips and made a shush motion so I wouldn't shout. If she hadn't, well, I was nearly about to cry out. Mion was in a very delicate position right now. Even if it was the middle of the night, I shouldn't call out her name. I waved to her, gesturing that I'd be right over, flung on my coat top, my pajamas, and flew out the door. I quickly hit the brakes just before going down the stairs. Although happiness was sprouting within me, I had that sad feeling that this would be our final parting. So I went back to my room again and grabbed the doll. If there was a God, I don't think I would have ever thanked him enough for as much as today. Even if it would be the last time we ever saw each other, I was so grateful for this one chance to give it to her. I slipped into my sandals, unlocked the door, unhooked the chain, and leaped out of the house. Mion! It's been a while. How are you? Been doing all right? It was like how we used to meet every morning. Mion waved at me and responded like she always did. It was doubtlessly Mion. It was the real Mion. Are you all right hanging around this place? I really shouldn't be. She certainly wasn't acting like she knew the police were following her. It's almost like she was a patient who had just gotten tired of staying in the hospital and snuck out. Her speech was relaxed enough to make me think that, and I couldn't help but be surprised. That relaxation I thought was more like Mion, and I was happy for it. Anyway, what's wrong? What did you need at this hour? I wanted to talk to you one last time. That was when I noticed them. On Mion's forehead were big droplets of sweat. Her expression, too, which I had thought to be a satisfied smile, upon closer expression trembled slightly, and I realized she was forcing it. Well, I can't stay for any longer. Pain note was beginning to enter her words as well, as if just smiling was a feat for her. Are you all right? Are you not feeling well? I tried so hard until now, but I can tell I'm done. This is my limit. They're about to come up behind me to take me away. Mion's smile crumbled and she began to stiffen. Did she push herself this much to come all this way for me? Her laughter cut off and changed into rough breathing. I reached out to rub her back, but she knocked me away. Are you okay? Don't force yourself. Oh, that's right. I had something to give Mion. This doll. I'd wanted to do this one last time, because I knew how little time you had left. But this last time, it... Ugh. My stomach is burning. Mion took a meat cleaver-like knife, stabbed me, and pushed it in tight and took it and twisted it. Mion? Hey, what? It hurts. I made it! I cowered on the ground. My stomach was so hot, it was almost spewing fire. Mion watched it and took a few steps back and cackled. I've done it! I've done it all! That's everyone I wanted to kill! The last words Mion left me that day came back to me. After today, Mion will never come back. From today on, even if my body is here, my body is all it will be. By then the demon will have taken it over. The demon. Me. What? This can't. I thought we had finally been able to meet. This can't. Mion. A pool of the blood of my own design. The doll I bought for Mion died in red. So red. Mion. The good fortune of having been allowed to meet Mion one more time, and the misfortune of that being torn apart before my eyes. Should I be grateful or curse it? My emotions were neither of those, as my consciousness sunk deep into a black swamp. The doll I bought for Mion, the blood had ruined it. No matter how I scrubbed and scrubbed, it had needlessly been ruined. The sad moon was so white, it looked frozen. June 28, 1983. A violent incident occurred in Hinamizawa Village, Shishibon City, Prefecture. The victim was Keiichi Marabata, also a victim of the previous string of disappearances. At around 2 a.m., he was stabbed in the stomach with a bladed object by the suspect of the last case, Mion Tonozaki, and was gravely wounded. He was discovered when his parents woke up and was transported to the clinic. He escaped death. The criminal fled the scene. On the same day at approximately the same time, a fall accident occurred in the Kamishiki apartment complex in Shishiban City Prefecture. The victim was Shion Sonozaki, also a victim of the previous string of disappearances. Late at the same night, neighbors overheard her having a big fight with someone and informed the manager. The manager used a master key to enter the room and discovered the victim had fallen from her 8th floor balcony to her death. The room had been torn apart and appeared to show traces of a fight. One neighbor had frequently visited the Sonozaki house for a long time testified that he heard what sounded like the two sisters having a fight, trading insults back and forth. We believe this was related to the injury case that occurred the same day in Hinamizawa village, perpetrated by the same incident suspect, and did thorough search of the room, but we could not find any traces that would imply that anyone but the victim was present. The victim fell straight down into the foliage of a parking strip. Her neck broke, and she died immediately. Her clothing was disheveled and had markings that would imply a scuffle. We also believe, however, it could have been an insanity-induced suicide attempt, based on the particular mental state of the victim after the incident. We are conducting a thorough examination of both fronts, suicide and homicide. We've got just a little bit more to go. Just a tiny bit more. Only for 5 minutes, understand? Please try not to excite him.
Yes, I'll be careful.
Clack. The door opened, and as I expected, Oshi-san came in. Hello, Maibata-san. It's been a while, hasn't it? Tell me, how have you been since then? The doctor says my post-operative recovery seems to be going smoothly. But I think it got worse when I saw your face. You wound me. As Oshi-san gave a laugh that smelled of sweat, he handed Mom a bag of assorted candies he must have purchased from the souvenir corner on the first floor of the hospital. Excuse me, Miss Maibata. Would it be possible for me to talk to Keiichi-kun for just a few moments? Mom clearly wasn't pleased at the thought of a police officer talking to her son without her there. However, I insisted. Mom, sorry, just a little while. Just 5 minutes, okay? Though grudgingly, Mom left the room. She closed the door. Oshi-san grinned widely and looked around the room. A room to yourself? How high class? My old lady always got a shares room, you know. It's quite lively, however. Seems like you're a higher rank if you got a worse disease in a place like this. The sicker you are, the prouder you are, or maybe the more arrogant. Oshi-san, we only have 5 minutes. I would like it if there were at least 5 minutes we ever saw each other. I didn't have any connection to Hinamizawa anymore, and this isn't in Hinamizawa anymore either. Yes. It's because there aren't any general hospitals in Okiyamiya. Mind if I take a seat? Down we go. This is a larger university hospital in Shishiban City. It was splendidly urban, and entirely different from the likes of Hinamizawa and Okiyamiya. It was hard to believe Hinamizawa was part of the same city. When does it look like you'll get transferred? Don't know. I'm ready to go whenever, though. Our moving plans were delayed a little bit because of my serious injury. My parents had already left the house in Hinamizawa, though, and we're living in our new one. They planned to make me transfer hospitals to be close to the new house once I recovered enough to take them there. Please don't come to where I'm transferring. I really will get worse then. Man, you really do hate me. It must just be my job, but that stings. That's why I bought all kinds of lovely souvenirs in atonement. You didn't need to bring an assortment of cookies for that. Well, you see, there aren't actually cookies in there. Look. Oshi-san pulls out a can of cookies and... Wah! Ow! Stretching my scar! I didn't know what you were into, Maibata-san, so I brought all sorts of things. See, all sorts of cute-looking ones from Western to comic strips. Lately, they have a sort of H-manga aimed at girls, too. Don't bring porn in here! Oshi-san! Take them away and go home! Ow. I thought for sure a healthy young person like you would be feeling a little needy, being cooped up here in a place like this for so long. If you stay here too long, the only fetish you'll end up with is a nurse one, you know? There are plenty of other beautiful things in this world besides nurses, after all. Don't decide what to major in now. Keep your options open. You need to be more all-around type of person. I gave Oshi-san's vulgar laughter a pained grin. Somehow or another I understood. The fact that Oshi-san was bringing it up like this meant that I have something important to talk about. The incident with Shion-san really was unfortunate. The night I was stabbed by Mion, Shion fell from her balcony and died. They said that the police were investigating all possibilities, accident, suicide, and homicide, but it could only have been Mion's doing. Mion found out where Shion was hiding, pushed her down to her death. Nothing else was conceivable. It couldn't have been an accident. It was Mion. It had to be. The criminology guys are saying it had to be a suicide, but I'm of the same opinion as you, Maibara-san. She pushed Shion-san, and also stabbed you, in one night. Has Mion still not been found? Oh, that's right. That's what I came here to tell you today. Yes, we actually did find her. What? How? Learning that felt rather strange to me. I was partially relieved that the incident was truly over. I was partially sorry that my best friend had finally been caught. I felt many other things, too. My heart was a maze of emotions. That's not all. In the Sonozaki House catacombs, we found a hidden well. Just as you said, Maibara-san, we found the remains of all those who disappeared at the bottom. I see. That sliver of hope, that possibility I believed in, that Rika-chan and Sadako were alive, just from the fact that their remains hadn't been found, gone. It was incredibly well hidden in those catacombs. I mean, it was in the blind spot of another blind spot. It was a vertical tunnel, dug out like a well. There was a ladder set up there. And when we went all the way down, there was another tunnel built going through it. When we followed it a few hundred meters, we found ourselves at the mouth of an unused well in the mountains. I wonder if it was a secret escape route the previous Sonozaki family leader built. Probably was. Maybe it was made in the Meiji era. Still, I'm impressed that they built something like that. So everyone's remains were at the bottom. Yes. Even deeper down the escape path, there was a pool of coal tar. They had been casually thrown into there. They had fallen from a fairly high point, so their remains were totally buried in it. It took a lot of time and effort to pull their bodies up. Did you find them all? I hoped that at least they wouldn't find Rika-chan and Satoko. That was what I wished when I asked, but my shallow hope was crushed in the blink of an eye. Yes, all of them. In fact, we also found human bones we think were over a decade old. We think there are at least 3 people. I suppose it's the dark side of Hinamizawa's history. I wonder how many people's bones we'll find when we've sucked out all the mud. It's a scary thought. That weight had been pushing down on Mion's shoulder the whole time. Mion. We've currently identified people who disappeared from the Shishibone city decades ago. People are talking about how this opportunity might lead us to resolve the disappearing Pearson's case that have been abandoned. After a deep silence, he breathed a heavy sigh. Yoshi-san went for a cigarette to pass the time, but I realized it was a non-smoking area, so he gave up and put them back in his shirt pocket. All right. This is a bit of a detour. But you know Rika Furuya-san, right? Of course. She's my friend. Did she ever tell you anything about the lines she regularly taken insulin injections for diabetes? Rika-chan had diabetes? I didn't know what he was talking about. Actually, we found it in her skirt pocket. A syringe. It was destroyed, though, so we couldn't identify the medicine. It was a bit out of place, so I got interested. You really don't know anything? I didn't know anything about Rika-chan carrying syringes around with her. Sonozaki family corporates, the Yakuza people. Anyway, there's rumors that they deal in psychostimulants. I was thinking that might have been something to do with it, too. Are you trying to tell me that Rika-chan is a drug addict? No, not at all. That's not what I'm saying. It just seems strange how you look at it. That she would bring a syringe with her on her way to get soy sauce. I had no idea what any of this means. My eyes are spinning. I feel sick. Are you all right? Should I call a nurse? I'm fine. Please continue. Well, that's all I had to say about the syringe. It was the only thing that was personally struck me as interesting. Rika-chan. Rika-chan was sort of like the village mascot, after all. Looks like the village is in an uproar right now. Between the old blind believers and the Sonozaki family who killed her, the 3 families' effective control over the village is basically in shambles, too. If someone came up to them to talk with a dam again, at this sort of time, the entire village would be abandoned for sure this time. I'm not related to Hinamizawa anymore. I actually was. I just said it because the thought about Hinamizawa being abandoned was unpleasant, and I wanted to end the conversation quickly. There was a knock at the door. It opened slightly, and my mom asked if we were still talking. Whoops! We went off topic, didn't we? What a pickle! I looked at the clock. 5 minutes were long past. He told my mom that it was something he really wanted to ask, and if she would wait a little bit longer. Is that so? Keep it short, okay? There wasn't really getting around the fact that she was thinking about what a police officer could be talking to her son about. Maybe we should choose another day for this. Oshi-san, Mion, how is she right now? I want to just hear the answer and get rid of him. Before I tell you that, I just need one thing from you. I just need you to answer something in all honesty. What is it? I want you to take your answer seriously, got it? If you say something indecent, it'd be viewed as obstruction of the investigation. You could be persecuted. Oshi-san kept threatening me till the end. What the hell did he want? Maevata-san, who do you think the criminal who pushed Shion from the who pushed the Shion from the balcony? There's no way it could be anyone but Mion, is there? Then who was the one who stabbed you? Please don't make me say it again. It was Mion. Mion Sonozaki. Oshi-san smiled bitterly and then dabbed his forehead with a handkerchief to wipe his sweat. Should have expected that answer, and yet looked as though he wasn't satisfied with it. She pushed Shion and stabbed me. Didn't you just admit yourself that Mion was the criminal? The evidence we have that Mion killed Shion is based on the testimony from the man living next door. This neighbor is actually a member of an organized crime group. In other words, he was Shion-san's bodyguard. Seems he's a veteran leader in that vein, and was like a parent to Sonozaki's sisters growing up. That man said this. The noise he heard from next door was just like the sound of a fight between sisters that he was used to hearing when they were all living together. No, there was no doubt about it. He said he heard Mion and Shion insulting each other, and heard them struggling. At first, though, he thought it was a hallucination that he was having, brought on by her dementia. You see, he thought that because of the sort of ruckus that had occurred every night. However, that night had been longer than the rest, and he claimed that he went to her room to give her a sedative. The noise died down when he got to the manager to give him the key. He'd already decided he'd at least check up on her, and after she wasn't answering his calls, they took the plunge and unlocked the door. And they saw that the room was a mess. Since Shion had been pushed over the balcony, they decided it had to have been Mion, and that's how it happened. In other words, he only heard from the other side of the wall. Plus, because the apartment complex is connected to their organization, it doesn't have many residents. So they were the only ones who heard it happening. To reiterate, there was only one person who witnessed Mion Shinozaki. Even if he didn't see her, isn't it obviously Mion's doing? Now settle down. This is what I'm saying. It means you're the only one who saw Mion Sonozaki for sure last night. After all, Shion-san, the other witness, is no longer alive. What are you trying to say? I don't really understand. At that point, Oshi-san paused. The fact that this was a non-smoking area completely slipped his mind and took out his pack of cigarettes again. Click-clack, he lit one with his lighter, and exhaled a long stream of tobacco smoke. Were you really stabbed by Mion Sonozaki? Yes! There's no doubt about it! Smoke from Oshi-san breathed that floated away like a thundercloud swept away by the wind. Oshi-san, you can't smoke in here! The nurses will get mad! Actually, we found Mion Sonozaki at the bottom of the well, too. What? She fell to her death. We believe that's where she was trying to escape on that hidden passage in the well. Her foot slipped while climbing down the ladder. She fell to the bottom, broke her neck, and died. Yes. The same way as Shion-san. She broke her neck. Well, what? After you passed out that day, Mion Sonozaki tried to escape through the hidden well, but her foot slipped and she died. As if beckoned by the corpses of the other sacrifices, she dropped down there. But that doesn't make any sense, does it? The autopsy came to the conclusion that she definitely died on that day. She didn't go back there after attacking you and Shion-san. She was already dead by then. My jaw was on the floor. There was absolutely no way that could be. Mion was the one that stabbed me. It had to have been her. There wouldn't have been anyone else to do it. Then, who attacked Shion and me? Who was it? The one who attacked you was someone who was Shion Sonozaki, yet not Shion Sonozaki. My mind had been a complete mess, and I started to lose my ability to think straight. Do you remember how Mion Takano-san died? Eh? Takano-san? Ah, yes. I think I heard that she was burned to death in some distant mountains. We learned that she was burned after being strangled to death. Jifu Station did the autopsy. It's a little bit strange. The results of the preliminary autopsy said that she had been dead for at least 24 hours. Since that is contradictory in their panic, they seem to have revised it to say that she died earlier that day. Despite me being an absolute wreck over what was going on with Mion, he was telling me there was even more on top of that? I didn't understand the complex things Oshi-san was telling me. The results saying that she had been dead for 24 hours, as our own old criminalologist says, is pretty damn reliable. So, what would that mean? I'd asked that question over and over. But on the night of Watanagashi, you were with Mion Takano-san, weren't you? I was. You also met her on the day before, while settling up for the festival, right? I mean, ran into her too. Yes, I was with her then. If she had been dead for 24 hours,
then it would mean she was already dead the day before the festival. That can't be. She was alive during the festival preparations. However, when you all slipped into the ritual storehouse, Takano-san was already dead. The origin of all that happened. The beginning of everything. Our intrusion in the ritual storehouse, which I had come to regret countless times. The one who tempted me, Takano-san. When she invited us into the storehouse, she was already no longer of this world. There are too many dead people walking around in this incident. An incident caused by a dead person and ended by a dead person. So apparently they're under pressure to revise the time Mion Sonozaki's death, not the day of the incident, but right after she stabbed you. Probably pressure from the outside to get this incident wrapped up already. So I'd appreciate it if you didn't say a word about this to anyone. Oshi-san grabbed his jacket that was hanging on the chair and put out his cigarette from the bottom of his foot. He started pretending to wave away the smoke floating around. I stayed too long. I come here thinking that I could at least end this incident as it applied to you, but it looks like it's even more baffling instead. Absent-mindedly, he walked toward the door at me, unable to speak, out of the corner of his eye. If it so happens that something comes to you, wants to talk in the future, call me anytime. My business card is in those souvenirs from before. When that time comes, I'll pay you a visit with some wonderful souvenirs again. Oshi-san seemed to think that I was still hiding something. That I, after all this, would be hiding something? I'm the one things are being hidden from. I'm the one who wants to know. I'm the one who suffers! Then let us meet again one day. Take care of yourself. Slam. I listened to the tap-tap of Oshi-san walking down the hallway. I still couldn't return from the state of bewilderment. He wanted to end this incident as it applied to me. What was over? Nothing was over. The incident was still continuing. Then, slip, an arm covered in fresh blood, came from underneath the bed. I wasn't that surprised. This was an illusion I was seeing, seized with fear. Kei-chan, I told you, remember? I heard a guttural voice coming from under the bed. I still recognized it as Mion's voice. What, Mion? What did you tell me? I warned you on that day. After today, if you see me, it will be the demon that has possessed my body. You did. You said that, didn't you? Sorry. Guess I wasn't careful enough. That's why I got stabbed. Possible wounds sustained from when she fell from the ladder. Many of her fingernails were broken and torn. Her arms slowly felt around on the top of the bed, searching for mine. Oh, hey, Mion. I just, thought of a good joke. Want to hear it? The Mion on the bed didn't answer. Let's say that I died here today. But tomorrow, I'd still be here, living a normal life. So when Oshi-san learned about it afterwards, the time of death wouldn't make sense once again. Make a big deal of how someone should have died was alive, and he'd totally lose his head. Takano-san, then Mion, then me third. So, funny, right? Makes you laugh, doesn't it? Kei-chan, laugh. Or was it not that funny? Mion's bloodstained hand groped around and found my wrist. Though her fingernails were torn, she gripped it hard, as if scratching me. Ow, ow, go easy. Ow, it hurts. Kei-chan, I've come for you. Tried to shake my wrist loose, but the strength she held it with was unbelievable, and I couldn't. She was only gripping one wrist, and yet my whole body wouldn't move. I couldn't even twitch. My fingers were spread apart. I couldn't make a fist either. And that fact that I couldn't make a fist reminded me of the restraining table. I felt a crooked nail press against my left pinky fingertip. Mion's forehead was split open. With her face covered with blood, she smiled and got right up in front of my nose. Nothing was over. Nothing was over. This incident was far from being over. It was still going on. It was still happening. Someone please end this incident. This cruel, tragic, unfortunate, sad incident. Please end it. That is my only wish. I granted you one before, remember? You don't get any more. Mion firmly held the nail down on my fingertip, and with her other hand she slowly swung a mallet in the air end.
session has been available! Viewing the extra screen! I'm gonna do that tomorrow! I just got an achievement called The Last Nail! Son of a bitch! I didn't want this one to go on as long as it has, but it did. So tomorrow I'll view the extra and anything else. Like, cause there's the chapter jump and all that stuff. Yep, 12 chapters. Why am I not surprised? Anyway, guys, tomorrow I'll do the all-cast review session, cause that'll, like, be a nice introduction for the next chapter, which is, Satoko's chapter, which is the, God, I don't remember the name of it. So, you guys all have a good night, and may the Higurashi send you